Chris Godinez, licensed professional counselor, also the host of We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez. And this video is for educational and informational purposes only. If you feel you need a therapist, please go to Google, type in therapy, Psychology Today will pop up, click on that, and it will have all of the therapists in your area. Also, the views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom. Okay, let me get some housekeeping stuff out of the way. So I had a request from some people in Europe to list how many hours it is until the show. I'll start doing that because it's confusing. Because here's the crazy thing, guys. Starting next week, everybody else goes to daylight savings time and Arizona stays the same unless you're in the Navajo Nation. Yeah. Hi, let's make this as confusing for people everywhere as possible. Anyway, so everyone else is going to change time zones. Arizona does not. So then the Pacific Coast time will be an hour before us. So they'll be like 11 o'clock. It'll be noon here. Oh God. And I'll have to figure out what it is on the East Coast and in Europe. So I'll get it figured out somehow, someday. But yeah, we keep messing with the times and it just drives me crazy. So next weekend, I believe, is when the time shift happens. I think it's the 1st of November. Maybe I'm wrong. It's sometime in November. But anyway, when we do the time shift, everything's going to shift. So what I'll do is I'll just list, hey, show starts in an hour, show starts in 2 hours, or whatever. So anyway, we did that today. Was that today? Oh, God. So the time change happened today. Oh, see, I'm not paying attention because we don't change time. So it's kind of confusing. So anyway, the point being, time is changing, and I'll just list when it is so we can figure out, everything like that. So 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, Andrea. That's awesome. So, okay, so we'll do that. I'll just say starting in an hour, starting in 2 hours, noon Arizona time. Hopefully everybody will be able to figure that out. So, okay, so I wanted to answer a couple of questions that people had that sent them into me this week. So somebody had a question on communal narcissists. So, okay, so there's different types of narcissists. There's the grandiose, which is the obvious, look at me, look at me, look at me, I'm fabulous, tell me how fabulous I am. Then there is the covert narcissist, which is the victim. It's always everybody else's fault. It's not my fault. You're to blame, 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 but this person is never to blame. So that is a covert narcissist because they get off on being the victim. Then you have the communal narcissist. And the communal narcissist is somebody who is a pillar of the community. So I want you to think like, and this is probably, I'm dating myself and I don't know if everybody's going to remember this or not, but do you remember in the 1980s when we had the religious guys on television and they were so pious and so wonderful and so holier than thou and yada, yada, yada. It turns out they were screwing anything that wasn't nailed down. Wait a minute. They were screwing anything in a skirt or not in a skirt or whatever. I mean, they were just screwing anything. So that's a communal narcissist, somebody who's done a hypocrite, in other words, somebody who is do as I say, not as I do. That's a communal narcissist, somebody who is the pillar of the community, is holier than thou, goes to church 4 or 5 times a week, but then behind closed doors, they're doing the altar boy, or they're, cheating on their wife, or they're beating their wife, or they're screaming at their kids, or they're, whatever. That's a communal narcissist. So they pretend to be this great pillar of the community, but in reality, they're not. They're the polar opposite. I mean, it's really psychotic. So like, in other words, they're saying how much they hate, homosexuality or gays, and it turns out they're having a gay relationship with somebody on the side when they're married. That's a communal narcissist. Does that make sense? Okay, questions. Oh, Trisha, that would be so awesome. If you could help me figure out the time zones, that would be awesome. Hey, Deborah, how you doing? And in New York, it's 3:02? I don't know. I'm going to have to look. So we're having this conversation about time zones. Okay, November 5th is the time change in the U.S. Okay, November 5th. See, I knew it was next weekend, sort of. I sort of knew it was next weekend. So next weekend, the time is going to change. So what I'll do is I'll just, when I get up in the morning, I'll make sure it's like on the hour and I'll say, okay, 4 hours to the show or whatever. And that way everybody can kind of figure out where and when and how. And if you miss it, you can always just go to Facebook and click on it and watch it after the fact. But it's kind of nice to watch it live so that I can get the questions coming in. Hey, Polly, how you doing? Okay, so Communal narcissism. I hope that answered the question. So a communal narcissist is somebody who's a pillar of the community, holier than thou, hypocrite, total hypocrite. It's like in public, they're like, you know, I hate homosexuality, blah, 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 blah. But in behind closed doors, they're having a homosexual relationship, a gay relationship with a person, but they're still married to their wife, but yet they're proclaiming how evil homosexuality is. So yeah, that's a communal narcissist. My ex was diagnosed NPD, HPD, and ASPD. Oh, he's a hot mess. He has traits of covert communal aversion, seriously crazy making, and it was very hard for me to discern what the hell was wrong with him. Well, yeah, when they've got all of it going on, it's a dark triad. So remember, when somebody is a dark triad, they pretty much got everything. Hey, Sally, how you doing? So they've got everything. They've got like the psychopathy, they've got the narcissism, and they have the Machiavellianism, which is the control freak. So yeah, it's called a dark triad. So yeah, hot mess, you bet. Okay, today's topic is self-sabotage. So when we get out of an abusive relationship, it is imperative that we get to a therapist. Abso-freaking-lutely. You've got so much damage to undo, it's not even funny. And if we had an insecure attachment, so remember a couple of weeks ago I was talking about attachments. So if we have a secure attachment, that means we know our parents are going to be there and love us and feed us and shelter us and take care of us and always, you know, be there for us emotionally, physically, and otherwise. If we have an insecure attachment, it's causes us to freak out, have abandonment issues, to not trust, to push people away, to, you know, whatever. And so it sets us up for an abusive relationship. Okay, so when we have an insecure attachment, it sets us up for an abusive relationship because we are looking to heal that original wound with another partner. That's what we do. We look for people to kind of heal us, basically. So if the relationship with mom and dad, or mom and dad was insecure, you know, not a secure attachment, you know, dismissive, that type of thing, it grooms us to be involved with an abuser later on. So that plays into the self-sabotage. So what the mistake is of most people who are in abusive relationships is they get out and then they don't get into therapy because they think, oh, the worst is behind them. Okay, yes, in one way it is. But the hard thing to understand is that abuser's BS is in your head. It has now become part of your internal dialogue. Do you remember when I talked about internal dialogue? Everybody talks about to themselves. Everybody talks to themselves about themselves. And if this thing is healthy, it's a cheerleader. If this thing is not, it is just spewing whatever your abuser shoved into your head, whether that abuser was your parent or whether that abuser was a romantic partner or a friend or whatever. So this thing is your worst enemy if you don't get a grip on it. This has to do with self-esteem. So basically, when we have parents that have abused us, and this is kind of a continuation of the talk last week when I was talking about toxic parents, when we have parents that have abused us and harmed us and told us that we're worthless or told us that we're no good or told us that we're evil or bad or whatever, that becomes unconsciously part of our internal dialogue and becomes part of our basic assumption. So in other words, this stuff is running in the background and we're not even aware of it. And that's why a lot of times when clients come to me and they sit on my couch and they're like, oh my God, I can't seem to ever catch a break. I can't ever seem to get ahead in life. I can't ever seem to fill in the blank. And then we start working on the original attachment issues. And it turns out, well, mom and or dad were abusive. They were screamers. They were yellers. They were constantly putting down, making wrong, you know, making fun of, humiliating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that became part of the internal dialogue. And that's why the person could never get ahead, because the basic assumption was, don't you dare. Don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare be seen. Don't you dare be good. Don't you dare excel. Don't you dare be better than this person. Don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare. So yeah, it's a real tough one. I just got out of a 1.5-year relationship with a covert narcissist a few days ago. Wow, good for you. I'm so effing happy. Now I need to start the process of healing. I'm worried about my anxiety. You need a bit of advice on that. Okay, well, so yeah, so absolutely. First of all, get into a therapist. Get into a therapist, get into a therapist, get into a therapist. And I mean a good one. I mean one that understands domestic violence, one that understands narcissistic personality disorder, one that understands how these monsters act and behave and treat us, because there's going to be a lot of undoing of unhealthy behavior and relearning of healthy behavior. So the anxiety is going to be a lot of self-soothing. You're going to need to learn how to self-soothe. You're going to need to learn how to be kind to you. And you need to watch for the Hoover, because if you just ended that relationship, I can guarantee it, they are going to try to Hoover you right back in like a vacuum cleaner. So be aware of that. Read as much as you can right now. Get into a support group. There's lovely support groups on the internet. There's website. Yeah, outofthefog.website is a great support place. There is narcissists, flying monkeys, narcissists, shit, oh my, something. Anyway, great websites. Go look them up. They're on Facebook. It's awesome. Hey, Arthur. Okay. Next question. Oh, and I hope that answered your question. So you need to work on your anxiety. Absolutely. Get CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. Start reading it. You're going to need that. You're going to need that support. I want you to get into a support group. I want you to find a good therapist. I want you to start working CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. That's going to help you a lot. And you've got to write down what your abuser did to you so that when the Hoover happens, you can refer to it and go, oh, hell no, I'm not getting back involved with that shit. Double up. Anyway, all right. What I found is that my thinking has become more negative in general. I try to catch myself and do thought stopping and replace it with something more positive. It's not easy, but I think over time it will change. In the meantime, I don't like it. Yes. So remember, it has taken days, months, weeks, years for this to get, ingrained in our head. So it is going to take time to undo it. And yes, every single time you catch this thing being mean to you, you've got to stop it. Literally, like, thank you for your input. Shut the fuck up. Why? Because I say so. I say so. I am the boss of you. You are not the boss of me. And then you replace it immediately with a positive. Okay. Hey, Arthur. Okay. You're so right. Working on the original trauma. It's nuts how we unconsciously gravitate to almost exclusively towards people who abuse, exploit, or demean us until we finally snap out of it. Are you done being abused? That's really what it boils down to. Are you done being abused? And some people are not. Some people just aren't. They haven't learned the lesson. They haven't earned their merit badge. And the day that they do, fucking huzzah. But until then, they're not done being abused. Some people are just not done. They haven't learned the lesson. So when they learn the lesson, then they stop. They don't need to be abused anymore. The lesson has been learned. So, okay. The anxiety is nuts. I've acquired social anxiety too. All of this was completely unexpected. Yes. So absolutely contact a good psych. Yeah. And congratulations on getting away, for sure. So yeah, the anxiety it comes completely as a surprise to people, because you think that once you get out of an abusive relationship, the hard part's over. No, your work is just beginning, because now you got to work on you. You got to work on why this all happened. You got to work on what caused this, and why were you going with this person, and how come you got involved with an abuser, and what's the original wound, and how can you heal that, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So, oh, good. Yes, go get the help. That would be awesome. And support groups. So self-sabotage comes from the messages that we get when we're kids and or in an unhealthy relationship. So if our abuser is sitting there telling us that we're worthless and we can't do this and we can't do that, and you're not smart enough, you're not, whatever, you can't make it on your own, you can't. Yeah, that's going to be playing in the back of our head. So you've got to drag that internal dialogue into the light. You need to hear what it's saying so that you'll stop sabotaging yourself. And you've got to be careful of what you tell yourself. So I love to tell my clients, it's like they'll come in and they'll sit on my couch. And this is especially true of younger abusees, like 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and their abuser has stopped them from going to college, or has stopped them from pursuing their career, or has stopped them from doing their hobby, or has stopped them in some way, shape, or form. And they'll sit on my couch and they'll go, I could have been so much farther along. I should have gone to college. I could have, I would have, I should have, I could have, and stop shoulding all over yourself. That's what you're doing. You're shooting all over yourself and you're keeping yourself stuck. You couldn't have done anything other than what you did. Forgive yourself. Compassion for yourself. Now do something different. You didn't get to go to college while you were with your abuser? Go to college. You stopped your hobby? Go start your hobby up again. You want to do a different career? Go do it. The only person that's stopping you right now, if you're out of that abusive relationship, is you. Boom, shakalaka. There it is. It's like we get in our own way. Stop it. Stop it. Now that the abuser is gone, you don't have to please them, but we've got that abuser in our head going, don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare succeed. Don't you dare be better than I am. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Do you see where I'm going with that? Holy crap. Tell him to fuck off. Go do what you wanted to do. It's never too late. It's never too late. It is never too late. I tell people this all the time. Check it out. I didn't go get my master's degree until I was in my late 30s, okay? Because I was always told my whole life, you're the cute one, you're not the smart one. Well, turns out I am the smart one and the cute one. Wow, there you go. You know, too threatening to mom and dad for me to be both. So I didn't get my degree until I was in my late 30s. I didn't write my first book until I was in my mid 40s. Didn't write my second book until I was in my mid 50s. I'm 52 now. I just wrote my second book, which I'm going to shamelessly plug. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them do the cha-cha. Why some people stay in abuse and some people don't. This book is good for the families and friends that do not understand abuse, because so many people don't get it. And you want to know why so many people don't get it? Because we don't talk enough about it. And it makes me pissed off that the colleges do not teach the upcoming psychology students about domestic violence and about personality disorders. And you've got this whole branch of freaking humanists. They're like, oh, we don't want to hurt their little feelings. Well, okay, how about all the kids that they're hurting with their abuse? You know, fuck you. So if it's a pink elephant taking a shit in the corner of the living room, it's a pink elephant taking a shit in the corner of the living room, whether you call it a pink elephant or whether you call it Harold. You dig what I'm saying? So anyway, this book is good for the family and the friends that do not understand domestic violence, that don't get what people go through, that don't understand why some people stay in these relationships, and that don't understand how others get out. So you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them cha-cha. By me, available on Amazon. So there it is. I believe I'm selling it for $19.99, something like that. Anyway, so there's that. Where was I going with this? Okay. Hold on, lost train of thought. Okay, so they fill our head filled with word salad, and they do that to confuse us, and they do that to keep us down. They do that to keep us from asking questions. And so that then causes us, when we get out of the relationship, to have absolutely no self-confidence whatsoever. In other words, a healthy, normal person is certain. They have certainty. Yes, this is the right course of action. Yes, I know exactly what I want to do. Yes, this is exactly how I'm going to handle things. When you've got somebody who has been abused, they are like a POW. I'm not kidding you. I have seen people sit on my couch and just be completely deer in the headlights, unsure of what to do, second guessing everything they are thinking, they are feeling, they are wanting to do, they are, and looking for guidance, because this abuser has been their everything. Their abuser told them what to think. Their abuser told them how to feel. Their abuser told them, you know, left is right, up is down, green is yellow, black is white. You know, they've totally gone in there and basically taken an egg beater and scrambled their brains. And it's really hard to start trusting again, and especially trusting yourself, because the ego gets in the way and it starts doing the whole, but how could I? How could I have picked another abuser? How could I have done that? How could I? How could I? How could I? Well, I'll tell you, how could you? You didn't work on the original wound. That's why. Forgive yourself. Move on. Start working on the original wound. That way you will never, ever get involved with another abuser. You work on that original insecure attachment. You have a list of deal breakers. You've got good boundaries. You've read The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker, which is all about saying no and meaning it. And I can guarantee you, you will not get involved with another abuser. But in the meantime, we self-sabotage. We stop ourselves from being successful for a myriad of reasons. You know, like I said, for some, it's the message was loud and clear from the parent. Don't you dare be better than me. Don't you dare be healthy. Don't you dare have a good relationship. Don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare. For others, it was the abuser, you know, making up all of these lies about, well, if you're successful, this will happen and that'll happen, and how dare you, and da 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 da. You know, I mean, crazy shit, people, seriously. So I've got a bunch of articles that I wanted to talk about that I found on Psychology Today. I love Psychology Today. It is one of my favorite websites to go visit. So this one is called 5 Ways to Stop Self-Sabotaging Yourself, or to Stop Sabotaging Yourself. And one of the ways that we sabotage ourselves that I thought was so funny is procrastination, which is why I laughed when Alfonso said, oh, great, a great way to procrastinate. I'll watch it in an hour. And I'm like, no, don't procrastinate. So yeah, it's, oh, look, I got lipstick on my teeth. Oh, I hate it when that happens. Anyway, so the point being is self-sabotage is procrastination. Procrastination occurs because it is a power and control issue. So a power and control issue is that when we feel powerless, we have very few things that we are in control of. And so that causes a great deal of anxiety. So one of the things we do have control of is whether or not we do things. It's very maladaptive. So what we end up doing is we procrastinate because we have control over it. And in a way, it's comforting because it's like, well, I can put this off until tomorrow. I don't have to do this today. I do what I want, that kind of thing. So that's where the self-sabotage comes in. Oh, good Lord, do I more? No, I'm good. Okay. So that's where the self-sabotage comes in, because the procrastination is a part of power and control issues, and it is a way to make ourselves feel self-soothed, thinking that we are in charge of ourselves, because we weren't in charge of ourselves when we were with the abuser. So now we're procrastinating and we're in charge of ourselves, but we're actually hurting ourselves because we're not doing what we need to be doing. Wow, that was long and convoluted. I hope that all made sense. So procrastination is a power and control issue, and you got to stop doing that, please. So, because when we don't carpe diem, when we don't seize the day, putting it off till tomorrow suddenly becomes putting it off till next week, and suddenly becomes putting it off until next month, and then suddenly becomes putting it off until next year, and then suddenly the next decade, and then never. So when you hear that thought pop up in your head of, oh, no, I'll do it tomorrow. Tell that thought, thank you very much. I'm not inviting you in for coffee. I'm getting up off my ass and I'm going to go do it right now. And the reason we procrastinate is fear. There's a lot of fear involved. Well, what if I succeed? A lot of people are afraid of succeeding, believe it or not. I mean, they're almost more afraid of succeeding than they are of failing. Failing, we got down. We know how to fail. We have failed a lot in our lives. We know how to do that. Succeed. Ooh, what do you do with that? Holy crap. Oh my God. What if I succeed? Well, what if you succeed? Let's face that fear. Let's write it out. Who doesn't want you to succeed? A normal, healthy parent wants you to succeed. They want you to be healthy. They want you to be happy. They want you to be whole. They want you to be successful. An unhealthy parent is the one who does not want you to succeed, who has some sort of competition going on, who doesn't want you to be better than them for whatever reason, so they can be the victim, or so that they can point their finger at the kid and go, you're the problem, you're the problem, you're the problem, when in fact it's them. Because remember, one finger pointing out, three pointing right back at them. So there you go. So that is what procrastination is. Don't do it. Never put off to tomorrow what you can do today. Seriously, because you're going to find that that's just a bad habit that you're going to just keep putting it off and keep putting it off and keep putting it off. Don't do it. Do it now. Do it now. We're not guaranteed tomorrow, guys. Do it now. So, all right, being afraid of our own thoughts. All right, so I think I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. So when we are afraid of something, what you resist persists. Remember the pink elephant taking shit in the corner of the living room? Okay, so what most people do is when an unpleasant thought pops up, they go, oh my God, pink elephant. Oh, geez, it is taking a shit in the corner of the living room. Oh, I don't want to think about it. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not thinking about the pink elephant. I'm not thinking about the pink. What the fuck am I thinking about the whole time? The pink elephant. So what you want to do is you don't want to resist uncomfortable thoughts. You want to have them, but you don't necessarily want to invite them in for coffee. And that's the mistake we make, is that we tend to invite in for coffee these thoughts that we really don't want to be inviting in for coffee. So especially like the self-denigrating or the fearful thoughts. And I loved this, and I cannot remember who said it to me, but I know where it was. So one of the guys in class that I'm taking said fear is false evidence appearing real. I was like, I could kiss you. That is awesome. I'm so going to use that. And that's what it is. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Boom. There you go. And so when a fear pops up, instead of going, I'm not going to think about it, you want to go, oh, look, there's that fear. False evidence appearing real. That's interesting because you're an illusion. Bye-bye, not inviting you in for coffee. Glad you stopped by. Bye-bye now. You just let it go. Let it go. You do not have to entertain it. You don't have to take that thought in, and you don't have to do anything with it. Okay. Hey, Sophie. Can you say that again a bit slower? Oh, shit. I don't even know what I was saying. When did I say it? Sorry. Trish, if you could just remind me what I was saying, that would be great. Laura, how you doing? False evidence appearing real. It's an illusion. Let it go. Yes, false evidence appearing real. Love it. So don't be afraid of your thoughts. You're going to have some weird, funky thoughts. You just are. And you're going to ruminate. Ruminate, meaning that the thought comes in and you just invite it in for coffee and it stays for dinner. You don't want to do that. As soon as a thought comes in that is a fear or that is not helpful, okay? If the thought is anything less than, go you, you're fabulous, good job, okay, here's where you could work on things. You know, if it's not constructive criticism, boot it the fuck out. You don't need it. You don't need it. You don't need that internal critic in your head yammering at you all the time. You don't. So you want to push that out, but don't be afraid of your thoughts. You're going to have stuff. So, and if you resist something, you're going to create it happening. Let me just say that again. If you resist something, you will create it happening. The reason why, let's talk about this. So let's use an actor as an example. So an actor's going to go on stage and they're going to do an audition, right? And so their worst fear is falling on stage. And so they're focusing on that. They're focusing on that. Oh my God, I don't want to fall. I don't want to fall. I don't want to fall. And then they get out there and what's the first thing they do? They trip and fall. Why? Because the subconscious has been listening to this and goes, oh, shoot, they're really nervous about it. You know what? We should just make it happen so they can stop worrying about it. That's what our subconscious does. So when we focus in on something that we don't want, the subconscious creates it happening so that we can experience it and stop worrying about it because now it's already happened. Not helpful. So what you want to do is instead of focusing in on what you don't want, you want to focus in on what you do want. Okay. So like, you know, the actor was saying, I don't want to trip. I don't want to trip. I don't want to trip. Okay, well, the subconscious just drops out the don't, I want to trip. Boom, there you go. So you got to be very conscious of what you are thinking so you do not self-sabotage. I always sabotage my weight loss habits. Okay, so the question is why? Now, I know for me, I got up to 250 pounds. I lost 50 pounds on my own, bounced between 190 and 210 for a while. And then I finally decided, okay, I'm willing to start working on myself. And you know, if I'm helping people, I'd better help myself, because if I'm not helping myself, I'm not helping other people. So you got to figure out why you stayed heavy. Why is it that you're sabotaging yourself? For me, it was because when I was heavier, my dad left me alone. And it went back to the abuse. So, you know, physically he would leave me alone, which is good. So that's why I stayed heavy all those years, because it was like, you know, not attractive, I'm heavy, leave me alone, you know, that kind of thing. So figure out why. Figure out why. What is it? What's the reason? There's a reason. There's always a reason we sabotage ourselves with our weight loss. And for me, it was because when I was heavier, my dad did not sexually molest me. So want to give that a thought, write it out, figure out what's the reason, what's the payoff? What are you getting? What's the payoff by sabotaging yourself? There's always a payoff, always. Change your thoughts and it changes your emotions. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so weight is a subconscious thing. Weight, we get a lot of messages about that. It's societal. We get a lot of messages about that and through society. If we've had any sort of physical abuse, you're going to put on weight to protect yourself, to keep yourself safe from your abuser. So you got to figure out what it is. What's the payoff? What's the payoff for staying heavy? What's the payoff for not being healthy? What's the payoff? There's always a payoff. So I know what my payoff was. I don't know what your payoff is. It would be really worth time to sit there and journal it out and figure out what are you getting out of it? What are you getting out of sabotaging yourself? What are you getting out of not allowing yourself to be healthy? What are you getting out of not allowing yourself to be fit or to be, you know, thin or whatever? No, you won't miss your comfort foods. If you're doing the right kind of nutrition, you will not. Now, I'm working out with Jess Manny at YFit Training here in Mesa, and he is amazeballs. I mean, because I've tried everything. You know, I did like, you know, Weight Watchers and all of that stuff. And I think they missed the point. It was like the biggest thing is working on this. You know, it's not working on what you're putting in your mouth so much. It's working on this and the desire to be healthy, happy, and whole. And with Jess, he focuses in on the fats, the carbohydrates, and the proteins. And it's all about fitness. It's all about, you know, working out, doing weights, doing cardio, etc., and eating healthy and the mindset. So something that helped me, Sally, is I went to Lauren Archibek. She's been on my show before. She does the NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And we worked on a lot of the subconscious stuff that was keeping me stuck. And it was stuff that I wasn't quite aware of. Now, that wasn't so much with the weight, but it was with writer's block. So I had a really serious writer's block before this book came out. So yeah, you might want to consider getting with an NLP practitioner and figuring out what the unconscious messages are that are keeping you stuck with the weight. And no, you won't miss the comfort foods, because a good nutritionist will allow you to do one cheat day. And I do one cheat day. Yesterday was my cheat day. We had a Halloween party over my buddy Hanson's house, and we did, oh, did I cheat? And it was fabulous. And then today I'm right back on it. So, you know, and doing cardio and all of that stuff. So it's not about denial. I think this is where people, again, what you resist, persist. If you're denying yourself constantly going, no, 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 I can never have that chocolate cake, and no, 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 I can't have a bagel, and no, 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 no. Pretty soon your body and your brain is just going to go, fuck you, and I'm eating the whole damn thing. So that's why you don't want to do that. You don't want to resist. Remember, you want to be able to go, okay, little internal child that would like the entire chocolate cake, I will have a cheat day on Saturday. You will get your cake. It will be okay. This is not about denial. And I think that's the big thing, is that we go into denying ourselves. And so we resist. And what you resist, persists. So there's that. Okay. Yeah, the negative attention as we as females get, but you know, men get it too. So there's always a payoff. Okay. Gyms. All right. So we sabotage ourselves by thinking that other people are talking about us or thinking about us or looking at us and calling us names. They may be, but here's the thing. What other people think of us is none of our damn business. It's not, because we can't control it. We cannot control what other people think about us. They may think the most horrible things about us. Oh, well, speaks more to them than it does to us. If you're at the gym to work on yourself, fuck those assholes if they're judging you. You know what? Go work on you. Go be you. Go do you. Doesn't matter what they think. It doesn't. They're not important to your life. The people that are important to your life are you, your friends, and your family. Not some jackass stranger who's sitting there going, I weigh 100 and nothing pounds and I think I'm going to judge you for being large. Oh, fuck you, bitch. I'm working out. And I'm doing as much as I can to save the planet. So fuck you. Do you see what I'm saying? Don't care. Don't worry. Doesn't matter. What other people think of you is none of your business. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let it go. That's just an excuse. It's an excuse to not go. So tell that voice inside your head, thanks for playing, not interested. I don't care what other people think. Fuck you, shut the fuck up. Thanks for playing. I'm the boss of you. You're not the boss of me. I'm gonna go. And you go. Go, go, go. Go you. Go work out. Go do it. Abso-freaking-lutely. There's no need to be embarrassed. So shame. Where is that shame coming from? We got to figure out where that shame is coming from. So you got to tell that shame to go bye-bye. Got to tell that shame to go bye-bye. Who shamed you? Who body shamed you? Who made you feel embarrassed to go to the gym? Who shamed your body? Put it back on them. And the best revenge is living well, which means the best revenge is to go face your fear, false evidence appearing real, go to the gym, work out, get yourself healthy. That's the best revenge. It's like, oh yeah, little 100 and nothing something bink. Fuck you. I look fantastic. Do you see where I'm going with that? So just go do, figure out where the shame came from, put it back on the person it belongs to. So whoever shamed you, whether it was your dad, your mom, a friend, you know, a boyfriend, a romantic partner, you know what? You don't get to judge me for my body weight. Fuck you. Sideways with an unlubricated baseball bat. So, you know, preferably one with splinters. So yeah, you just put it back, put the shame back on whoever it belongs to. So, okay. Okay, so I was doing okay for a while, then a friend died and I got triggered into emotional flashbacks. Okay, yes, so flashbacks are, yes, that's another way we sabotage ourselves because we have CPTSD, guys. CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. We will have flashbacks. We will get triggered. And that's when we want to do the emotional eating. That's one way we sabotage ourselves when we have been abused, is that, you know, we emotionally eat when other stressors come into our lives. Get with a good therapist, guys. Get with a good therapist that can teach you healthy stress coping skills. Abso-freaking-lutely. You've got to find a healthier substitute instead of eating, okay? So for me, it's working out. That's a great, and Jess, God love him, he finally figured out that I love the punching bag because it gets a lot of my, energy and my anger out. So, go to the punching bag, go substitute exercise or walking, or even the kung fu punches while you're walking. Do something else. You don't have to shove your emotions down. That's what we do when we emotionally eat. It's like we're shoving an emotion down. We don't want to feel it. We're trying to numb ourselves. Don't do it. Feel the emotion. You got to feel it to heal it. You got to. You got to feel the emotion to heal it. Don't be afraid of it. Don't resist it. Does that make sense? Okay. Oh, good. You got it. Fantastic. Okay. Yes, eating disorders are common with abuse. Absolutely. So we either sabotage ourselves with food to the point where we have gained a ton of weight, or we sabotage ourselves with food so that we deny ourselves, though, that we're disappearing. So that's the other, it's like same coin, flip side. So instead of eating ourselves to death, we are starving ourselves to death. And again, what's the payoff? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to disappear? What are you doing? Stop it. Feed your body. Your body needs to eat. Feed it. It's okay. So yeah, this is common in abuse survivors, is either starving themselves or overeating. It's the same issue. So get with a good therapist, work on the CPTSD, work on the self-esteem, work on those early messages that we got from our parents or our caregivers or whoever told us that it wasn't okay for us to exist. Basically. Okay. Oh, Bunny. Yeah, I would actually cry when I was eating and I didn't know why. I was emotional. I was starved a lot when I was an abused kid. Yeah, that's what they do. That's exactly what they do. They give you the message over and over and over again. You're not wanted, you're not needed, you're not, which to me, it's just like, look, we need a license to drive. We need to register to vote. I swear to God, there should be a test to have kids, because there's so many people out there that do not deserve them. Swear to God. So yes, when we are children, our parents do things, and their actions always speak louder than words, guys. Actions always speak louder than words. And when our parents have been abusive and they starve us emotionally and they starve us physically, don't feed us enough, or they make us guilty for eating, or they damn us for eating the last piece of bread or whatever. It's like, what the fuck? I'm a kid. I'm hungry. I'm growing. I need to eat. So the message clearly, loud and clear, given to us is, you don't deserve it. Really nasty. Really effing nasty. So seriously, get with a good therapist. Let's work on that original bullshit that got shoved into your head. Seriously, not okay. And the other thing that I've seen too is that parents will drug their kids. So they will claim that they have ADHD or ADD or whatever, and then they'll start putting them on all sorts of medications. Adderall is horrible for that. Adderall has caused so many teenagers to get anorexia. It's not even funny. And when a child is growing, that is the time that they need all those minerals and vitamins and proteins and food and fats. They need those things to grow. And so it really does harm the child, and it harms their gut, intestines, the bacteria, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I mean, if you were one of those kids that got shoved onto those medications, you definitely want to start working on a healthy diet. You definitely want to look at your gut bacteria. You definitely want to remind yourself it's okay to eat. It's okay to live. It's okay to exist. It is okay to be. Whew. Man, slap therapy for all those parents, I'm telling you. Okay. Yes, there are people that do not eat when they are stressed. Like I said, some people, it's the same thing, flip side. It's like some people stress eat, other people just can't eat at all, period. So yeah, it depends. It depends. The same person could do one thing one time and then do the other the next. So yeah, it's one of those two reactions. Okay, so don't be afraid of your thoughts. So that's kind of where, and then burying your feelings. Don't bury your feelings. Don't numb yourself. Don't turn to a substance. Don't turn to alcohol. Don't turn to drugs. Don't turn to sex or porn or whatever in order to not feel. It's not about numbing. You've got to feel it to heal it. That is the important thing. Don't shove down your emotions. You will get emotionally constipated and it will come out sideways and it'll be messy. Trust me on that one. So people who shove their emotions down generally end up having intermittent explosive disorder. So their anger just boom comes out and they can't even figure out why. Well, it's because you've been shoving it down for God knows how long. You don't want to do that. You also don't want to be raging all over everybody, but you do want to be in touch with your emotions to know what you are feeling. What are you feeling? What are you thinking? What was the thought that you had before you felt it? Super important. Start journaling. Start journaling. Okay. Habitually starting tomorrow. We talked about that. Inertia. So this is why procrastination is so harmful, is because we get stuck in this mood of not doing, and then pretty soon, it's harder to get moving, literally, and figuratively, if you are stopped. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's why you've got to keep moving, keep going forward, keep plowing. Don't just allow inertia to happen. It's like, keep moving, keep doing something, even if it's baby steps every day. So somebody asked me, they were like, well, how do you write? How did you get over your writer's block, number one? So I had writer's block so badly, like I said, I had to go to Lauren Archibek, who is a life coach here in Gilbert. And she did NLP with me, and we worked on that. But then after that, I would seriously sit down and write an hour a day. Whether it was crap or not, I would write an hour a day. And then I would go back and I would edit it the next day. And every day I did that. And even, on the days when I was just like, I cannot brain, I don't want to write, I am so tired, I would be like, nope, I'm going to do this. So I would sit and I would write. And oftentimes it was good. Sometimes it was absolute shit, and I'd have to go back and redo the whole chapter. But the point being is, you don't stop. You keep going. You take those baby steps and you just run with it, because enough baby steps will eventually get you down to the goal line. Do you see what I'm saying? So yeah, you don't want to ever stop. So you do a little bit every day until you can do a lot of it every day, and then you just keep going. So yeah, don't let inertia get you. So anyway, this is a great article, 5 Ways to Stop Sabotaging Yourself. It's on Psychology Today. So dodging emotions. So the dodging emotions, resisting emotions, dodging them. So hi Baba, dodging emotions. When we don't want to deal with something, we have a tendency to say, okay, well, I'm not going to deal with this right now. So this kind of goes along with that whole procrastination thing. Dealing with abuse, dealing with parental abuse, dealing with romantic abuse is painful. It is, because we're having to revisit, relive, refeel everything that happened. And so a lot of us are like, oh, well, it's over. I don't want to do that. Oh, it's over. I don't want to have to deal with it. No, you don't want to do that. You want to deal with it. Deal with it. Because here's the thing. I always say I would much rather grab the bull by the horns, wrestle it down to the ground, snap its neck, barbecue the meat, tan the hide, use the bones for soup, and be done with it. Because otherwise that bull's just going to keep coming and it's going to keep shitting, and you're going to have a lot of bullshit. So the point being is, be done with it. Be done with it. Don't avoid. Don't avoid. Don't avoid. And we avoid because of the CPTSD, because we do get triggered, because we do get panicked, because we do have all those flashbacks and feelings and et cetera, which is why I'm saying get with a good therapist. Please, please, please get with a good therapist. Help them work it through with you. Because you're going to need help. You're going to need help processing this stuff. You're going to need help not avoiding things. So it's funny. Sitting on the couch, having somebody sit on the couch, and I ask them a question, and it's a direct question, and I watch them go all the way around the scenic route and over here, hoping to distract me, and then I'll ask them the question again, and then they'll go all the way around the scenic route, and then I have to finally go, I've asked you that question twice and you're avoiding it. So what's going on? And now they can't, avoid it because I've called it. So yeah, you don't want to do that. Don't avoid. It's time to deal with it, and it's okay. And the best way to defeat your abuser is to deal with it, to confront it head on, to be willing to stop avoiding and to be willing to stop dodging, to just take the bull by the horns, kill it, be done with it, wrench its neck, tan its hide, barbecue the meat, use the bones for soup, be done with it. So yeah, and is it going to take work? You bet your sweet bippy it is, but you know what? You're fucking worth it. Don't you forget that. Okay, so talked about procrastination. Okay, extreme modesty. That's another way we sabotage ourselves. So we have a very hard time giving ourselves compliments. We have a very hard time allowing compliments in, mainly because when we were with our abuser, they would either belittle us, put us down, harm us, need to be in competition with us, belittle, minimize, etc., or whatever. So, or, we were with a family that was extremely religious that was like, oh, no, 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 you must be humble. And they've confused humility with self-degradation. So you don't want to self-degrade. And so you want to be able to learn how to take compliments. And this is something I teach my clients, is when they come in and they are extremely modest to the point where they're like self-denigrating. It's like, no, no. Oh, I think somebody's coming home. You don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. You want to learn to take compliments. So what I teach people is to do a 1-minute brag, and it's so uncomfortable for them. But basically what a 1-minute brag is you set a timer, and for 1 minute you talk about all the things that are good about you, that you like, that you are good at, that you enjoy. And I'm gonna go smack that dog. Oh my God, this is Scotty, my lab. He's my little problem child. Anyway, he barks at anybody who walks by the house. So you'd want to do a 1-minute brag, and you want to say all the things that are good about you. The other thing you want to do is mirror work. So you give yourself permission. You look in the mirror and you say, hi, I'm glad to see you. Because how does that feel? That feels really good when we hear, I'm glad to see you. And especially coming from us to us, that's like, wow. So, hi, I'm glad to see you. Have a great day. I give you permission to say nice things about yourself. Do it for a week. See how that goes. Because I mean, how many times have we woken up and said, oh, it's going to be a shitty day. And then lo and behold, it's a shitty day. Why? Because our subconscious is listening to what we're saying. And it goes, okay, she wants it to be a shitty day. We'll make it a shitty day. But if you tell yourself, hi, I am glad to see you. Go have a wonderful day. And by the way, it's okay for you to love yourself. Wow. What a concept. Do it and see how your day goes. See how things go when you do that. Okay, let's see. Okay, so yeah, and so we have a really hard time accepting compliments. So the thing that we tend to do is we tend to give the compliment right back, and we don't allow it in. It's like as soon as somebody says, oh my gosh, I love your hair, or whatever, we immediately go, oh, but I love your hair too. No, guys, you can give a sincere compliment if you so choose. But what I'd prefer you to do is to allow the compliment in. Thank you so much. Thank you for seeing me. That's all you need to say, because it's a gift. When somebody compliments you, they are giving you a gift. And it's a sincere compliment. I'm not talking about the love bombing bullshit. I'm talking about somebody who sincerely, appreciates or likes you or says something kind or whatever, and it's a sincere gift. Then you sincerely accept it. Thank you. Thank you for seeing me. Thank you. That's all you need to do. Okay. All right. For some reason, this thing stopped scrolling down. Yes, I've noticed that overall stress levels are down. I don't need to self-medicate. Yes, and we're going to get to substance abuse in just a second. Okay. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up on all the comments because this thing stopped scrolling. It did weird things 2 weeks ago too. So, okay, Arthur had a question about, are the thoughts always installed by somebody else? Yes, always. Because we don't pop out of the womb going, here, let me have this really amazingly disturbing thought. That's not the way it works. Somebody has taught us those thoughts. So if it can be learned, it can be unlearned, and it can be replaced with healthier thoughts and healthier behavior. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to catch up on the comments. Yes, okay, so looking in the mirror is very difficult for some people. You're not alone in that. So if you cannot look in the mirror, if you cannot, make eye contact with yourself, then I want you to write yourself a love letter. I want you to just write yourself a love letter and give yourself permission to love yourself, give yourself permission to like yourself, give yourself permission to work on yourself, give yourself permission. It's okay. And then put that sucker somewhere where you can see it. So until you can start looking in the mirror, some people have a really hard time with that. And if you can't, I want you to write it out. If you can't look at yourself in the mirror and tell you the positive thoughts, then I want you to write it down, and then I want you to read it every morning. Every morning, every morning, every morning. I want you to read the good stuff every morning. And then every evening, I want you to remind yourself of 3 things you did right. So we're going to focus in on this. So remember, 99 things go right, 1 thing goes wrong. What do we focus on? The 1 thing that goes wrong. Nope, no more. Because when we're with an abuser, all the abuser ever does is focus in on what's wrong. They never focus in on what's right. They're not happy people. They're not happy, joyful, hey, let's have fun. Hey, let's hang out. Hey, let's, have a good time. They're always what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong, what's wrong. And you don't want that. You want to focus in on what's going right. So focus in on what's going right. And write it out if you can't do that. Donna, of course you love Scotty. You were my dog sitter. Okay. Yeah, 1 minute brag is a really good way to start doing that, getting in touch with the good stuff about you. What do you love about you? Cover the whole thing, physically, mentally, emotionally, ecumenically, the whole ball of wax. What do you love about you? What do you like about you? What is good about you? Because trust me, guys, your abuser picked you because you have all these amazing qualities. You're empathic, you're kind, you're gentle, you're funny, you're sweet, you're intelligent, you love animals, there's things about you. This is what the abuser wanted. And this is the crazy thing. And this is why we self-sabotage, because the abuser picks us for these qualities, but then they set about to destroy it. They set about to kill the very thing that they picked us for, our good looks. Okay, what are they going to do to us? They're going to feed us bad food. They're going to encourage us to smoke. They're going to encourage us to not exercise. They're going to encourage us to not take care of our bodies. Wow, so they were attracted to your good looks, but now they're destroying them. Hello? Or your intelligence. Okay, so they were attracted to your intelligence and you want to go back to school. They're going to sabotage you from going to school. They're going to keep you from doing your hobbies. They're going to keep you from having friends. They're going to keep you from doing the things that made you you. They're trying to destroy you. They're trying to take you over. They're trying to turn you into them. So when we get out of an abusive relationship, that's why I'm saying it's so important to get with a therapist to stop all the bad habits that our abuser taught us or encouraged us or forced us to do, because oftentimes abusers force us into doing bad behavior in order to stay in a relationship with them and to start returning to the healthy behaviors. So that's one way that we self-sabotaged, is that we allowed ourselves to be manipulated by the abuser into doing all these horrible bad habits. Now we got to undo them and we got to replace them with positive stuff. That's why we got to focus in on the positivity, because abusers are all negative all the time. Okay. I'm close to someone who may have intermittent explosive disorder, and I have CPTSD. I get compliant as I'm in a freeze. Person yells and denies yelling. What is a safer approach? Wow. Okay. You could write them a letter so that they deal with it on their own and you're not in the room when they read the letter. If they're denying yelling, they're gaslighting. And if you're close to them, my thing would be get to a therapist. Say, okay, we're going to get to a therapist to work on this because I'm not putting up with it. Sorry. I'm not going to be screamed at. I'm not going to be yelled at. There's no reason. There's no reason to, guys. Adults don't scream at each other. Hate to break it to you. Adults don't scream at each other. Adults don't yell at each other. I've been married for with John since 92. So that's what, 26 years? Something like that. We got married in 96. And we don't yell. I mean, we've had exactly one yelling fight, and this was early on in our relationship, before we went to marital counseling. So, yeah, I mean, adults don't yell. Adults don't scream. They don't trigger somebody with PTSD. And if somebody knows that they've got PTSD, you're very cognizant of it and you're very sensitive to that, and you make sure that you're not triggering them. So I would say get with a therapist and ask this person to go to therapy with you if they're going to be like that. And then if they don't go to therapy with you, there's your answer. They're not really interested in having a healthy relationship. So there that is. Yes, it is very difficult finding a therapist that understands personality disorders. It absolutely is. And I've explained this a couple of times and I'll explain it again. The reason why is because the APA and the ACA have got a faction in there that do not believe in labeling. Okay, so they're the humanists. They're the ones that don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We don't want to hurt their little feelings. Okay, I'm sorry. Again, what about the victims? What about the targets of abuse? fuck that shit. You got to call it what it is. I'm sorry. So a lot of therapists never got trained in personality disorders. A lot of therapists don't understand complex post-traumatic stress disorder, let alone just PTSD. They don't, we didn't get trained in it, guys. And I think the public needs to start demanding that these damn schools start teaching the Axis twos. They need to start teaching the personality disorder. Well, Axis twos, we don't use axes anymore. But the point being, the cluster Bs, they need to start teaching the personality disorders, because that is where you will find all of the abusers, is in the cluster Bs. So, not everybody with a personality disorder is an abuser, but every abuser has a personality disorder. So just like not all plums are prunes, but all prunes are plums, it's the same thing. Does that make sense? So yeah, it's hard to find a good therapist, and you must interview them. You absolutely must interview them as much as they interview you, and you must ask them probing questions. Do you understand domestic violence? Do you understand complex post-traumatic stress disorder? And if they sit there and say, oh, there's no such thing, get a different therapist. Because I've had psychologists, I've had psychiatrists go, oh, well, that's not in the DSM-5. Okay, asshole. You know why? Because of the faction of the APA and the ACA that didn't want to include the personality disorders and anything having to do with personality disorders. And that's why. And now, finally, because of people like Richie Grannon and me and Melanie, oh shoot, what the heck's her name? She's Australian. She's so adorable. Evans. Melanie Evans, Melanie Tony Evans, people like us that are sitting there sounding the alarm going, hello, 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 people, red alert, shields up. The problem, it's finally getting talked about, and they are finally now just starting to acknowledge the personality disorder issues and the CPTSD. So yeah, find somebody. You've got to interview them, and it's going to take a while, and it's going to take time, and you've got to make sure they understand domestic violence. You've got to make sure they understand complex post-traumatic stress disorder, and narcissistic abuse disorder, survivor disorder. So, because people don't get it. People just don't fucking get it because it hasn't been fucking taught. And I think it's a fucking disservice to the whole fucking country. Oh man, that pisses me off. Anyway, sorry. Just went off on that. Anyway, thank you for letting me get on my soapbox. Okay. Okay. All right. Starting to cry a whole week. Okay. Crying is normal. Crying is normal, guys. Crying is normal. And when we're with an abuser, they don't let us cry. They don't. I remember my dad, oh my God, if I cried, he would do the whole, I'll give you something to cry about thing. Or he would say, you're a Marine and Marines don't cry. It took me until I was like fucking 16 to figure out I hadn't enlisted. So crying is normal. And if you're crying, cry. It's okay. Every mammal on the face of the planet tears up when they feel pain. When we have been abused, we feel a shit ton of pain. We just do. So it's okay to cry. It is. And I truly encourage you to not immediately go for the antidepressants. Allow yourself to feel, allow yourself to heal, allow yourself to work through these emotions with your therapist. If it is to the point now where you are not able to get out of bed and you are not caring for yourself, you're not showering, you're not engaging in the activities that you normally would, then yes, it's time for meds. But if you're just crying and sad and working through the abuse, then no, you don't need medication. You need to keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. You will come out on the other side. I promise you. Get in a support group. Get to outofthefog.website. Get to Melanie Evans' website. Get to Richard Grannon's website. Get to my website. Get to people who understand. You're not alone. You're not alone, and you're normal. Congratulations. You're not crazy. You're normal. You're a survivor of abuse. But survivors of abuse feel like they're crazy because people really don't understand it. So that's why you want to surround yourself with people who do. And that's why I wrote this book, so people will fucking understand it. So yeah, encourage people to read this book. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him cha-cha. So again, shameless plug, but it's true. It's like, this is why I do what I do. This is why I do these weekly chats. This is why I've written books. This is why, because people don't get it. And I want people to get it so that the survivors don't feel alone. So you're not alone. Crying is normal. It's okay. Yeah, self-compassion. So part of the ways, I'm going to go over time, guys. I'm sorry, there's a big subject and I haven't even covered half of what I want to. So hang with me if you can, because we're already up to 12:59, but I'm just going to keep going. So self-compassion is another way we sabotage ourselves by not having compassion for ourselves. So as empaths, we have this tendency to have compassion for literally everybody else and their dog, but we don't have compassion for ourselves. What the actual fuck? No, you want to have compassion for yourself. You must have compassion for yourself. Forgive yourself. There's a reason we got involved with these abusers. Hello, goes back to the original insecure attachment. We didn't have a secure attachment. We had an insecure attachment. So we were groomed. We were absolutely groomed to get involved with an abuser. And until that original abuse is worked on, that original insecure attachment, whether it was actual abuse, physical abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, whatever, until that's worked on, you're going to have that tendency to want to go find somebody to keep working that out with. You don't want to do that. You want to work on yourself. You want to get that original insecure attachment handled, so that you don't have to keep working it out through a romantic relationship or a friendship or whatever, or a boss or, whatever. So compassion for the self is huge. You must work on that. And people always go, well, I don't know how to be compassionate with myself. So it starts with giving yourself permission. Hi, it's good to see you. I give you permission to have compassion for you. What a thought. There's another wonderful book called Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach. There's Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. There is Pema Chodron. She is the American Buddhist nun. She does a lot of YouTube stuff. There's the Tonglen meditation for difficult times. Now, Pema does this huge, very long meditation that's like 40 minutes long. I can't sit that long. I don't have that kind of patience. So what I do is the Tonglen meditation is for self-compassion. So you imagine yourself somewhere beautiful. You're out in a forest or on the beach or, in a hammock or somewhere that you love. And the birds are singing and the flowers are smelling wonderful and the sun is shining on your face. And you start with, may I have peace. May I have freedom from suffering. May I have all that I need. Food, shelter, companionship. May I have peace. And you do that over and over and over and over again. And I can guarantee you this thing's going to pop up and it's going to be like, oh my God, this is so stupid. Why are we doing this? Blah, 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 blah. Thank you for your input. Shut the fuck up. Why? Because I say so. May I have peace? May I have freedom from suffering? May I have all that I need? Food, shelter, companionship. May I have peace? And you just keep doing it. Set aside 5 minutes a day. That's it. That's all you need, 5 minutes. And you do that. I like to do it when I'm drifting off to sleep. That's a nice way to do it because it's a nice way to go to sleep. So that's one way to do self-compassion. The other way to do self-compassion is be mindful. Be mindful. What are you putting into your body and why are you putting it into your body? If it's for any other reason other than it is good for me and it supports me and, it's healthy, don't put it in your body. That includes cigarette smoking, hookah smoking, drugs, alcohol. That's the other thing. So we tend to numb ourselves with substances. Nicotine is a substance, guys. It's a substance and it doesn't care. It doesn't matter if it comes in the form of a hookah. It doesn't matter if it comes in the form of a cigarette. It's still nicotine and it's still killing you. It is killing you. The CDC has put out a whole report on the dangers of hookah smoking and the dangers of cigarette smoking. So if you're smoking, stop. Don't. And you want to be careful of drinking as well, because we tend to try to numb ourselves in some way, shape, or form, either with food, sex, drugs, alcohol, exercise, over-exercising. So be careful. Everything's in moderation. Everything should be in moderation. So, except for cigarette smoking, that needs to stop. Nicotine use, that needs to stop because it's gonna kill you. It is absolutely going to kill you. So self-compassion comes from being okay being. It's okay for you to be. That's another thing you can give yourself permission when you look in the mirror. It's okay for me to be. It's okay for me to exist. It's okay for me to be here. I have a right to be here. So start with that. Start with the positive self-talk. That is self-compassion right there, doing the positive self-talk. Okay. Okay, why me? All right, so that's another way we sabotage ourselves. So you're never going to get the answer to why. Never. Never. I mean, it sounds like a logical question, but why? Why did this happen? Why? You're never going to get the answer. It's more of a how. How did this happen? Okay, well, it goes back to the original insecure attachment. You know, there's a reason we were groomed. So you want to stop with the whole why me thing. And you also want to stop with the whole shoulda, coulda, woulda. Stop shoulding all over yourself. Okay. So those are two ways that we keep ourselves stuck, is the why, and the shoulda, coulda, woulda. Get rid of those. Get rid of those. They're not serving you. So it happened. How did it happen? Well, okay, let's take a look at the family of origin. Mom and dad, insecure attachment, got groomed to be in an abusive relationship because of the negative, nasty things they said to me. Lo and behold, went out and found somebody just like them. Yay. Went through that, learned the lesson, got out of it, never looked back. Okay, great, it happened. Move forward. How can you make yourself strong? Having a list of deal breakers, having good boundaries, working on your self-esteem with the self-esteem workbook by Schiraldi, doing the CPTSD workbooks, and doing the CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, working on self-compassion with Radical Acceptance by Tara Brach, working on forgiveness for yourself and everybody else with Radical Forgiveness, Colin Tipping. Great books. Go, do, be, work on you. It's okay to be. It's okay to be. Okay, where was I? Okay, why me? Yeah, just get rid of that. So I think the question is how? How did this happen? How did these series of events happen? How did this happen? How is a better question. Why not so much? So find out the how and you'll have the answer. Okay. All right. Trying to find the next question. Oh, thank you, Gil, for writing those books down. Thank you. Okay, so CPTSD book, the Pete Walker's book. Lori, you have an excellent point. When we have CPTSD, it is going to trigger the living shit out of us. It is. And I always tell people, when you're reading the CPTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker, take it in teeny tiny little chunks, like teeny tiny little chunks, and then come back to it. You gotta walk away. You do. You gotta give yourself a break, walk away from it, come back, try again. Don't give up. It's a great book. And if you're having trouble getting past chapter 3, get with a therapist. Get with a therapist and have them help you work through that particular chapter. So don't give up. It's a great book. But do take it in tiny chunks. And part of self-care is when you recognize you're getting overwhelmed, when you recognize that the CPTSD is just flaring up, stop, take a break. Go get some water, go for a walk, journal, do what you need to, self-care, let it sit for a few days, but don't stop. Go back to it, try again, figure out what's triggering you. Figure out what's triggering you, what triggered you, what was the trigger, how can you work on that trigger? That's what you need to do. And this is why I love the CPTSD book, is because yes, it does trigger us. Yes, it does, bring up stuff, but it needs to. Because the only way to heal it is to go back through and figure out what the triggers were and what happened. Does that make sense? How did this happen? How did this happen? Where did this come from? Where did this come from? So work on those triggers. It's okay. You can do this. You absolutely can do this. Get with a therapist. Get with somebody that can help you work through that chapter. So good job. Keep going. Melanie Tanya Evans. Yes, I like her. She's a little way out there. She's a little metaphysical and stuff, but I am too, but she's more metaphysical than I am, which to me is a little scary because I'm pretty metaphysical. But yeah, I love her stuff. She's very inspirational and she's very upbeat. Okay. Okay, so if you cannot afford therapy, there are resources out there, not just in Arizona. I'm going to list them for everywhere. A university, any university that has a master's or higher level psychology department, okay? They need people to work on. So that master's level students need people to do therapy on so that they can get their practicum out of the way. So go to any university that has a psychology department. They will have free therapy. It's usually about 6 weeks long, and you can sign up for it. And you can probably sign up for multiple times. I believe you can. So, and unless, of course, there's other issues going on that's going to require a higher level of care. So obviously somebody who's severely mentally ill would not do well in a master's level thing. They would need actually a psychiatrist. But yes, you can go to the University of Phoenix. You can go to the ASU. You can go to any university that's near you. And if they have a psychology department, they will have a practicum, which will be free counseling, 6 weeks worth of free counseling with a master's level student. So check it out. Go to the universities. If you have been in domestic violence, obviously, which most of us have, you can go to Catholic Charities and they have free counseling for domestic violence. So yeah, and it's usually through an intern because, you know, that's just what they do. But the interns are good because they need to learn and you need to teach them. So so Catholic Charities is another good way to get free counseling. Universities are a great way to get free counseling. You can check with different agencies like Jewish Family Services, Catholic Charities. I'm trying to think of the other ones. Those are the only two that come to mind right now. But check with the universities and check with Catholic Charities, check with Jewish Family Services. They all offer, for domestic violence, they all offer some form of either extremely reduced or free counseling for domestic violence. So check those out. Okay. Yes, it takes time to heal, guys. So when we leave an abusive relationship, you cannot just leave it and not work on yourself because you're just going to fall right back into another abusive relationship. So when you leave an abusive relationship, hugely important, get with a good therapist that understands domestic violence, that understands CPTSD, that understands abuse survivor syndrome. And it's going to take at least a year, a minimum of a year of counseling. And I'm talking going once a week. Minimum, going once a week, working on the self-esteem, the CPTSD, the flashbacks, the triggers, the low self-esteem, the messages that we got, the stuff that's in our head, the self-sabotaging, the procrastination, the weight gain, the weight loss, all of this stuff is going to take a minimum of a year. It's not going to happen quickly. And my recommendation is stay the fuck out of a relationship until you are back in a relationship with yourself. You are not fit to be with anybody else until you are in a relationship with yourself and it's a healthy one. And the biggest mistake that people make is that they get out of an abusive relationship and they dive right back into another relationship because they're terrified of being alone. Why? Because of the voices in their head that got shoved in there by the abuser, by the parents, by the insecure attachment. You're going to die alone. You're a horrible person. You're not good enough, blah, 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 blah. Tell those things to fuck off and work on that, replacing this thing with the positive one. The one that's healthy, the one that's happy, the one that's whole, the one that loves you, the one that tells you good stuff. And it can be done, but you've got to get that. And until this thing becomes second nature, stay out of a relationship because all you're going to do is just find yourself back in the same place you were. Okay. All right. Yes. Give yourself permission to love yourself. Okay. Impulse control. Yeah. So impulse control. That's another way we self-sabotage. So we think that it somehow has to do with willpower or whatever. What it really has to do with is what are we telling ourselves? Are we worth it? Are we worthy? Are we good enough? So that's why I want you guys to work on the self-talk. It's like you are worthy of a healthy body. You are good enough to have a healthy relationship. It's okay to have good days. It's okay to feel good about yourself. It's okay. So it's not so much impulse as it is what we're saying. What are we saying? What are we thinking? What were we thinking right before we did that impulsive act? What were we thinking or doing right before then? So that's what I need you to work on. Yes, if you're stubborn enough to kill yourself with nicotine or cigarettes, then you're stubborn enough to quit and get healthy. Yep, absolutely. Take that stubbornness and use it as a gift to yourself. I love that. Gina, that was brilliant. I love that. Yeah, if you're stubborn enough to do all of that, be stubborn enough to take care of yourself because it's true, because you're worth it. So there is that. Okay, I'm struggling to actually find anybody who does understand. Even finding a counselor who understands narcissists in the UK is an issue. Can we self-counsel? I feel like I'm the only one who can see and understand the narc. Okay, Karen, so then my recommendation would be stick to your guns. Don't settle for a therapist that doesn't get it. Get with a support group. Get with a support group. And it might be an online support group. Narcissists, flying monkeys, narcissists, sociopaths, flying monkeys, narcissists, oh my. I think that's the order that it's in. That's a great community. The outofthefog.website is another great community. Don't settle. Don't settle for a therapist that doesn't get it. Do not settle. find one that gets it, and you're going to have to question them as much as they question you. So, and yes, you can do some of your own therapy, but if you get stuck, it really does help to have that outside third party to go, okay, here's how I can help you unstick, that kind of thing. Because sometimes, I mean, we're great when we can do a lot of the work ourselves. And I recommend doing a lot of the work yourself because A, it's cheaper, and B, it shows you that you can, and C, go you. But sometimes when we get to that place where we're stuck, like when I was stuck writing the book and I had the writer's block and I was grieving and I couldn't get past it, I needed to have another therapist, life coach, help me get through it. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask for help, but make sure it's the right kind of help. So, okay, there is that. Okay. Okay, so, they put you through prolonged exposure therapy. Okay, yeah, that can work. EMDR would be another good one. REBT would be a good one. CBT is another good one. Yeah, they do have limited time. That's the problem. So when you go to the university, they do have a limited time. It's usually 6 to 8 weeks. So you got to just dive in and get the most you can out of it. And then if you can, re-sign up, if they'll allow it. So yeah, there's that. Okay, hang on. I'm trying to find... okay. So support groups are all over the internet. They are, and they're all over the Facebook pages. I'm tired. Okay. Did I mention I was at a party last night? So, yeah, you can find a support group online. You can absolutely find one online, and you just kind of got to go and watch and listen at first. Now, be aware, some support groups are not well moderated. You want to make sure that you get into one that's well moderated, because again, predators, abusers love to go hang out there and, troll and do whatever, and you just don't let them. So, and you find one that actually supports you. Okay. I want to be in a healthy relationship. I feel like I learned to know how to do that to be in a successful relationship. Yeah. So healthy relationships, screaming, there's no yelling, there's respect. So respect is a form of love. Love is a form of respect. So when you truly love somebody, you respect them. You don't treat them like shit. You don't put them down. You don't call them names. You don't make them feel less than. You don't make them give up their family. You don't make them give up their friends. You don't make them give up the hobbies that they loved. You don't make them stay at home with you and do nothing all day long except be with you. That's what narcissists do. That's what abusers do. They put the lockdown on their target. They isolate them. That's not a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is somebody who encourages you to go out and do your thing, to be you, to be successful. Going back to the whole sabotage thing, healthy parents encourage their kids to wander into the next room and not be afraid. Okay, a healthy relationship encourages the partner to go do their hobby, go do the thing that they love, go to that audition, go do that job interview, go, 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 go. Be healthy, be happy, be whole, be successful. They encourage you to take care of your body. They don't encourage you to smoke. They don't encourage you to eat poorly. They encourage you to exercise. It's encouragement. That's a healthy relationship. I swear to God, maybe that's what my next book should be on, is what a healthy relationship is, because I don't think people understand what a healthy relationship should look like or does look like. So, and I can hear my publicist now going, yes, start writing that. Thanks. So yeah, it's healthy relationships are respect. It's respect. And it's like a comfortable pair of loafers. It really is. It's not something you have to kill yourself to make work. Now, is there work involved? Absolutely. But it's not like this constant, the narcissist is dedicated to being unhappy. The abuser is dedicated to being unhappy, and no matter what you do, it'll never be good enough. It'll never be right. It'll never be happy. In a healthy relationship, your partner will find the silver lining. That's in any situation. That's the beautiful thing. So, and your partner is not dedicated to misunderstanding you, and your partner is not dedicated to constantly causing drama and constantly isolating you and constantly, putting you down and making you wrong, and you're not good enough, you're not making enough money, you're not being this, you're not being that. That's not a healthy relationship. A healthy relationship is loving and kind and respectful and supportive and fun. It's fun. It's a fun relationship. So anyway, that's a healthy relationship. Okay. All right. I'm scared to love, and I have difficulty with intimacy. I know I'm not ready and gladly avoid it after 18 months of separation. Again, work with a therapist. Get with a therapist and work on your self-esteem, work on boundaries, work on trusting yourself. So this is the thing. When we get out of an abusive relationship, we absolutely cannot trust our own thoughts. We can't, because we've been brainwashed, and because we tend to give our loyalties to people who do not deserve it, and we tend to shunt away the people who actually do love us. So yeah, you cannot trust yourself when you've just gotten out of an abusive relationship, and another abuser will swoop in and use that and put you right back in the very same situation, except worse. So you want to get with a therapist to start learning how to trust yourself again, but not falsely. So it's working on ego, it's working on the self, it's working on boundaries, it's working on deal breakers. Yeah, absolutely. So Wolfric, what you're talking about, what if they would encourage, then put down, then encourage, then put down, then encourage, then put down? That's called intermittent positive regards, or intermittent positive rewards. So that's part of the brainwashing. So what an abuser does is they will, first of all, love bomb, right? Get you sucked in with the love bombing, but then the dissatisfaction starts. And so they'll build you up and then tear you down, build you up and then tear you down, build you up and then tear you down. And it's a roller coaster. And that causes us to release all these endorphins and oxytocin and all this sort of stuff that gets us hooked, literally like an addict, to our abuser. We literally become addicted to the person because we live for those moments when they are loving us and giving us positive regards. And then when they don't love us and don't give us positive regards, we go into a panic mode. We're fearful of being abandoned. Our body starts producing oxytocin like crazy. We want to connect with them. We want to connect with them when they want to connect with them. Our abuser is getting off on that. They're loving that power dynamic. And so, yeah, it's intermittent positive rewards. It's brainwashing. It's absolutely a technique that is used in POW camps. So yeah, that's what that is. My ex would encourage me to do a lot of things and be alone, but would call me 12 times a day to talk about themselves. Yeah, they would encourage but completely ignore anything I'd say. I felt like a ghost, or that my role was to be their audience all the time. Yeah, you're absolutely correct. That is exactly what they do. Narcissists never ask you how your day is, ever. And if they do, it's only so that they want you to ask them how their day was so they can talk about themselves. So honestly, that's what I've seen over and over and over again, is that they never ask their partner how they are. Like really, like honestly, like, I want to know, tell me how you are. How are you doing? They don't do that. They ask questions so that they can talk about themselves. Absolutely. So a great book for you to read would be Object of My Affection is in My Reflection, Coping with a Narcissist by Roquelle Lerner. Roquelle is spelled R-O-K-E-L-L-E, Lerner. Excellent book. And it describes that intermittent positive reward system and how we get hooked to it. So that's a great book to read. If this is all new to you, then yeah, get Object of My Affection is in My Reflection, Coping with a Narcissist by Roquelle Lerner. It's going to explain all of that intermittent positive rewards. So thank you, Alice. Honestly, I think I am going to write my next book on how to have a healthy relationship, because I don't think a lot of people get that. And I see a lot of scary behavior with teenagers too. It's like I see the abuse happening at a very, very, very young age, both males and females abusing each other. So, okay, that's why I didn't understand why a guy would act like they loved me and then turn on me. I thought it was me, but now I know better. Yeah, it's the intermittent positive rewards. Okay. You're welcome. Okay, so, all right, now, any last questions on sabotage? Because I gotta wrap this up, but let me finish this. So any other questions you guys have, go ahead and put them down. All right, so extreme modesty, we talked about that. Addiction. You don't want to get addicted to anything. You don't, because we've already been addicted to a person. So we are susceptible to addiction, guys. Be very, very careful. So try not to numb yourself with drugs, alcohol, sex, food, exercise, etc. Be conscious, be mindful, be awake, be aware. Work on your emotions, work on feelings, work on what you were thinking. What were you thinking right before you had that uncomfortable feeling? Because remember, thoughts cause emotions. So what were you thinking? Journal, get it out, figure out what your triggers are. All right. 9 ways your old programming may be holding you hostage. This is another great article on Psychology Today. Hang on, half a tick. This is a really long one. Wow. So I'm just going to show this. So 9 ways your old programming may be holding you hostage. So this is programming that we got from our parents. And okay, so all right. So basically, it's in trying to please our parents, we make these decisions. So if we had an insecure attachment to our parent and our parent didn't approve of us being better than them or more successful or prettier or smarter or whatever, we suddenly decide to be the dumb one in the family, or we decide to be the joker, or we decide whatever. And it goes back to the original attachment. So this is why I'm saying the original attachment, the original attachment, the original attachment. I'm just going to say that again. The original attachment. What was your attachment to your caregiver? Was it secure or was it insecure? If it was insecure, get with a therapist and start working on that insecure attachment so that you don't have to keep working it out with romantic partners or with friends or with bosses, because that's what we do. We tend to be attracted to that same type of behavior over and over and over again. All right. So basically it talks about the choices we made when we were dealing with our parents. You know, if we stunted ourselves because we didn't want our parent to reject us, then that's, you know, something we need to work on. Underestimating your potential. Okay. Stop underestimating your potential. Stop believing that your successes are due to luck as opposed to your capability. We tend to do that. And that goes back to that false modesty thing. So you want to stop underestimating yourself, okay? Constantly finding fault with or attributing negative intentions to yourself. And so validating the notion that you're a bad person. 99 things go right, 1 thing goes wrong. I want you to focus on the 99 things going right, not the 1 thing going wrong. Seeing yourself as an outsider or outcast and so believing that you don't or can't fit in with others. Stop it. Stop. All of this stuff that we've all gone through has happened to many of us. You are not alone. You're not a weirdo. You're not crazy. You're not insane. You're a survivor of abuse. So stop thinking of yourself as weird, because you're not, okay? Everything you're going through is normal for the bullshit and the abnormality that we went through, if that makes any sort of sense. So there's that. Perceiving yourself or perhaps the whole world as untrustworthy. Okay, this goes back to the trust. So you're going to have to get with a good therapist and start working on the trust, starting with yourself. You need to learn to trust yourself, and you need to discern what is your gut instinct versus what is your heart versus what is your head. These two, unfortunately, will steer you wrong every single fucking time. The gut instinct doesn't. But that's what the narcissist or the abuser wants us to shut down, because they don't want us listening to our gut. So that's why they gaslight us and keep telling us, no, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. I never said that. That never happened. You know, telling a story over and over again until we believe it. So that's why you got to get with a therapist to undo all that brainwashing. The whole world is not untrustworthy. Are there assholes out there? Fuck yeah, there are. Absolutely. But once you start learning boundaries and once you start having a list of deal breakers, you'll be able to discern a true abuser from, you know, a not abuser kind of thing. So you can't allow the abuser to make your world small. That was their intention. They wanted to isolate you. They wanted to have you all to themselves so they could kill you, basically. Either soul kill you or physically kill you or both. So the world is filled with really good people. So don't think that it's all just abusers. Seriously, there are good people out there. And so it's about learning to trust yourself more than anything else. Because once you trust yourself and you listen strongly to your gut, you'll never have another abusive person in your life again, because you'll have your gut instinct going, you'll have your list of deal breakers, you'll have your boundaries, and you'll have that word no down pat, okay? Okay, devaluing and belittling yourself. Don't denigrate yourself. It drives me crazy when I watch people put themselves down. Stop it. Stop. There are 100,000 million assholes out there that are willing to kick your ass. Don't you be one of them. Seriously, don't you be one of them. You always be kind to you. Always, 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 always. I want you to teach yourself, treat yourself like you are your own child, okay? As if you were your own child. You would never be cruel to your own child. So don't you be cruel to you. You be kind to you. You say nice things to you. You be gentle with you as if you were dealing with a child, okay? No meanness. No, 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 no. I want you to be kind to you. Okay, so no putting yourself down, no belittling yourself, no making yourself less than. That's what our abuser did. You don't need to do that. Viewing yourself codependently as more responsible for others' welfare than you are your own. No codependent stuff. You are responsible for you. They are responsible for them. Neither the twain shall meet. Okay, so The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker is an excellent book to work on those particular issues. Perceiving yourself as weak or defenseless victim. And so living your life as a helpless victim or being excessively dependent on others. You don't need to. This is why I'm saying if you've been in an abusive relationship, take your power back. Take your power back. You're not a victim. You were a target. You absolutely were a target. Remember how I said about phrasing, how you say things? Be careful of that. You're not a victim. You're a target. They targeted us, guys. They targeted us because we're smart, because we're funny, because we're kind, because we are good looking, because we are talented, because we are creative, because we are whatever they're not. They targeted us because we have something that they don't have, and then they set about to try to kill it. So remember, you're amazing. Don't ever forget that. And you're not a victim. And I'll tell you what, if you want to really feel like not a victim, go take self-defense courses. Go take self-defense courses. Learn how to protect yourself physically. Go to a counselor. Learn how to protect yourself mentally. You're not a victim. You're not. You were targeted. You were absolutely targeted because you have something the abuser wanted. All right, there's that. Seeing your feelings as only adding to your vulnerability. It's okay to be vulnerable. It is. The softer, more vulnerable emotions actually make us stronger, believe it or not. Again, get with a good therapist to learn how to protect yourself emotionally, mentally, physically, etc. Because abusers play on our inability to say no. So that's why I want you to work on The Disease to Please by Harriet Breaker. Learn to those boundaries. Learn to say no. No is a good word, but to abusers, it's a bad word because they don't ever want us to say no. They want us to always say yes, so that we're always taking care of them and we're always responsible for their emotions because they love to blame us. You're responsible for my emotion. You made me feel. Bullshit. You can't make another person do anything. They choose. It is a choice. All right. I think that was it. Yes. So, okay. So 9 ways your old programming may be holding you hostage. Get this article. It's really good. Read it. It's really, really a good one. Okay. Let me go back over here. You're welcome. You're welcome. Wolfric. You're welcome, Wolfric. Okay. As a bipolar CPTSD, please explain to others that I love us, that it is organic in nature, and we are responsible for taking care of ourselves, that their first job is to care for themselves. We are not curable. I have to run into a bunch of people that I think it's their job to fix me. Yeah, it's not our job to fix each other. Now, caveat, if somebody says, help me, and they truly want the help, and they're not just one of those, I'm going to suck you dry by saying, help me, help me, help me, help me, then you can help them. There's a difference between helping and fixing, seriously. So, if somebody gives you permission to help them, then yeah, help them. But if somebody is like, look, I have bipolar, I don't need fixing, thank you very much. If I need help, I'll ask for help, then respect that. So yeah, it's really difficult. People don't understand mental health issues. They don't understand the difference between bipolar and borderline, or, this is why I'm saying there needs to be more education on mental health issues, because they're all different. It's, and people confuse things, and the media confuses things, and the media misrepresents mental health issues all the damn time. So yeah, good point, Mary. I like that. Oh, geez. Self-cutting. Okay. So when we are with an abuser, one of the ways that they try to control us is through fear. And one of the ways that they love to do that, and this is usually borderlines, not narcissists. Narcissists don't usually cut. Borderlines are the ones that usually cut, and they will do that to try to scare us into submission. It's a form of manipulation, absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of frightening. Ooh, I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah. So the ex would burn and blame the spouse. Yeah, it's scary. It was terrible because we always feel like it's our fault. It's not. It's a choice. They chose. They chose. They chose that maladaptive behavior. Don't ever take on responsibility for what they chose to do. Does avoidant attachment fall under the same umbrella as insecure attachment? Yes. So, okay. So there's different types of insecure attachment. So there's insecure attachment where you're just afraid of abandonment, like, oh my God, I'm going to be abandoned. My parent abandoned me. I'm not secure. I don't feel like, they're going to come back. I'm afraid of abandonment, blah, blah, blah. That's an insecure attachment. Then there is dismissive insecure attachment. Dismissive insecure attachment occurs in targets of abuse, kids who've been abused by their parents, and the decision that they make in their head is, I'm going to shove you away before you have a chance to abandon me. Okay. And it's a way of staying safe. It's a maladaptive way of staying safe, but it's a way of staying safe. So the child makes a decision in their mind, fine, fuck you, you're not going to be around, fine, I don't fucking need you, fuck off, go, leave me, go. But then that translates into an adult relationship where when the going gets tough or stress happens or trigger happens, that they will turn around and tell their partner who does love them and is going to stay with them, fuck you, I don't need you, fuck off, go away, blah, 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 blah. And it's a defense mechanism. It's a defense mechanism. It's dismissive. It's dismissive. So it's a way to stay safe. It's a way for the ego to win so that it stays safe. And it's usually happens around age 5. I'm guessing, because that's what I've seen. It's like the behavior is very much that of a very young child going, fine, I don't need you, that kind of thing. And so that just means that there needs to be some inner child work done. That just means that we need to heal that inner child that's been harmed, that's been scared, that's been frightened, that's been abandoned, that's been hurt. So we need to love that inner child. And I proper credit to the spouses that get that understand that their spouse has been abused and has CPTSD and has got that dismissive attachment style. And it's hard on the spouse, but they get it. The ones that get it. And they're like, nope, not going anywhere. Nope, I love you. Nope, not happening. Even though this person is kind of having a temper tantrum and going, leave me, but it's a credit to the spouse that sticks through that. And you find a spouse like that and you've got that particular attachment style, then you stick with that person because they're a keeper. So there is that. Okay. Let's see. Oh, taking karate courses. Very cool. Yeah, I love martial arts. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's very empowering. It's great. And kickboxing is great. And anything that you can work out physically and feel like you are in control of your body and in control of yourself kind of thing. So yeah, I love martial arts. I think martial arts are great on so many different levels because it's mind, body, spirit. It really is. It kind of forces you, it's like yoga. It forces you to breathe and it forces you to be in alignment with your mind, body, and spirit. So I love martial arts stuff. Okay. Let's see. Yes, Gina, yes, that is absolutely the avoidant. It's like, fuck you, fuck your opinion, fuck the horse you rode in on, fuck this, fuck that, fuck, yeah, fuck off. Yeah, that's exactly what we do when we're avoidant attachment. So, and it's part of the insecure attachment style, and that can be fixed, which is the good news. So it's going to take time and it's going to take effort and it's going to take working on trust, that we're not going to be abandoned. It's going to take working on trusting ourselves. It's going to take also recognizing the triggers that cause us to do that push away, that avoidance thing. So, okay. Okay, I have borderline traits and I'm on the spectrum. I can become overstimulated and experience head banging. Oh dear. I would ask my ex-partner to leave me be when I got overstimulated and he'd get even more intense with his abuse. Yeah, because he was enjoying it. I'd have self-harm episodes and seizures. Oh, honey, I'm sorry. Okay, and he would shame me and bullying me and make fun of me for having autism. Oh, I'm glad you're not with him anymore. He had self-harmed himself in front of me, saying, I made him do it. Nope, you did not. He chose. He abso-freaking-lutely chose. Yeah. I'm having way less seizures and autism meltdowns since leaving. Good for you. Go you. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Yeah. They love to make us feel like it's our fault. They love to make us feel like anything they do is because of us. And it's a choice. We choose. They choose. It's all a choice. It's personal fucking responsibility. That's what it's all about. It drives me crazy when somebody sits there and does the victim thing. I don't let them get away with it, which is also why narcissists tend not to stay with me very long, because they're kind of like, oh, it's not playing my game. So anyway, yeah. So it's the personal choice, personal responsibility all the time, personal responsibility. Okay, self-sabotaging when things are going well, fear of success. Okay, so we do that because, like I said, we are used to failing. We're okay with failing. We know how to fail. Failing is easy. Success, not so much. So there's a whole bunch of fear that comes with success. Again, fear, false evidence appearing real. I love that. Damn, I'm going to keep using that. So when we have a fear of success, we got to figure out why. We got to figure out why are we afraid of success? Or how are we afraid of success? What's going on? What was the message? Who told us we couldn't be successful? Where did that come from? Who was the deliverer of that message, and what was their fucking agenda? So that's what we got to figure out. And I think that's why we're afraid of success. So for me, when I published my first book, this was back in 2011, which was What's Wrong with Your Dad? I was more afraid of the book being successful than I was of it failing. And then I realized it was because I got those messages growing up. Don't you dare. Don't you dare be more successful than me. Don't you dare be smarter than me. Don't you dare be more whatever than me. And it came from the dysfunctional parents. So yeah, you got to figure out where those messages came from and then get rid of them, because they don't apply anymore. It's okay for you to be successful. It's okay for you to be smart. It's okay for you to be more successful than your parents. It's okay to be more successful than your spouse. It's okay to be more successful than your ex. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Give yourself permission. It's okay to succeed. It's hugely important. Yeah. Okay. So I think I have covered the things I wanted to cover on self-sabotage. It goes back to our basic messages that we either received from our caregiver or the decisions that we made based on what the messages we received on our caregiver. So it goes back to the attachment. So we've got to work on that original wound, that original harm that we suffered. It's super important that we go back and we figure out where were we either insecurely attached or dismissively attached, or what decisions we made around those original messages that we got from those caregivers. You're going to have to work through the original issue, which is with the parents. I hate to sound like Freud, but it's like, lie on the couch and tell me about your mother and your father. You know, that kind of thing. I mean, it's really, you've got to work on that. You've got to work on what the attachment was, where the harm came, where the abuse came, or where the neglect came. It doesn't always have to be abuse. If your parent was an addict to prescription drugs, to, you know, illegal drugs, if they were never around, if you were raised by a nanny, if you were, if your parent committed suicide, if your parent was not there, if your parent was in jail, if your parent was just absentee, that's all going to cause insecure attachments, and you must work on it. You must, or you will continue to try to work it through some sort of romantic or friendship or boss relationship, and that's not healthy doing it that way. So get with a good therapist, work on the attachment style. Ask the therapist if they understand attachment styles. If they don't, get with a different therapist. So that's my advice on that. All right, I think more questions. Hang on. Whoa, okay, hang on. Okay, how do you tackle the subconscious? Okay, well, one way to tackle the subconscious is, like I said, to journal, because then you start bringing the subconscious into the conscious. It's like, okay, where did this thought come from? How come I am fearful of success? What is going on? The other thing you can do is NLP, which is neuro-linguistic programming, with a good life coach like Lauren Archibek. She's a great one for that. She's local in Mesa. She does Skyping. She's amazing. I love her. And she does work on the subconscious stuff. So if you cannot drag it out yourself and you need help, call Lauren. Lauren's amazing. Lauren Archibek. She's in Mesa. It's the Growth Company, I think, is the name of her company. So Yeah, a lot of the stuff is subconscious. So if we could work on it ourselves, do so. Because I really want you to try working it on yourself first. If you can't, then give Lauren a call or call a therapist and start working through it that way. I was raised by a borderline narc, but I am an empath. Yeah, that makes sense. I inherited the reactions of the disorder, but I do not really feel how I react. It's so frustrating. You picked up fleas, sweetie. You just picked up fleas. So in other words, because my dad was a borderline, okay? He was self-harming, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, dark triad, crazy go nuts. But he was borderline with narcissistic expression. So of all of the personality disorders, that's the one that expressed itself the most, but he was definitely borderline. And I'm an empath. I feel other people's stuff. I can walk into a room. I know exactly, you know, what the energy is. I can read it, you know, that kind of thing. So we pick up fleas and it's learned behavior. That's all it is. All of this is just learned behavior. We do not pop out of the womb acting like fucking assholes. It's learned behavior. So if it's learned behavior, we can unlearn it and we can replace it with something healthy. So really, it's just a matter of working on those fleas. If you don't like your behavior, get with a good therapist and start working on the fleas that you picked up from your parents. So one of the fleas that I picked up from my mom that I recognized early on is she was very, her mother was a narcissist. Her mother was an absolute malignant narcissist, just evil woman. And so she was very borderline in her behavior, but she was also very histrionic. And she would mountains out of molehills. And I found myself doing that in my early 20s kind of thing. And then it got pointed out to me by a couple of boyfriends. And I was like, yeah, that's not healthy. That's not normal. And so I started working on it. And I don't do that anymore. I don't do mountains out of molehills. I do mountains out of mountains and molehills out of molehills. So, but it takes work, and it just takes working with a therapist and getting it to the consciousness and figuring out whose behavior it was and why they were doing it and why you're doing it. And can you let it go? And are you willing to let it go? And good, you're letting it go. Okay, fantastic. So, and replacing it with healthier behavior. That's really, it's just fleas. It's just fleas. You can squish them, just squish them. Just find out where the fleas are and squish them. Okay. I would tell him it's his choice and that he was just trying to keep from looking at our problems. Yeah, they do. They deflect. So abusers deflect. Abusers love to deflect and say it's you, because it's so much easier to say you're the problem as opposed to what's my part of it. So a healthy, normal person always asks, what's my part of this? What is my responsibility in this? I am 100% responsible for my 50% of this relationship. So where's my responsibility in this? An abuser never does that. An abuser always has the you guns out, always. Okay. Can the difference for sons and daughters? Okay. Attachment. Yeah. So abusers will treat children very differently. They'll have a favorite. Absolutely. They'll have a favorite and they'll pick them and they'll be the golden child, and it could be the girl, it could be the boy, it could be, you know, and it'll switch. It'll be crazy. In my family, it was my oldest stepsister was the golden child because she was not related to my dad at all. So therefore she was perfect, but all the rest of us had part of him in him. And so therefore we were horrible. And so we were the comedian. I was the comedian, or the black sheep. My middle sister was the black sheep. His son was actually the black sheep as well. He was never good enough. And the roles would switch. So whoever pissed him off, they would get punted out of the golden child part and then be replaced by one of us that was formerly the black sheep. Again, that intermittent positive rewards thing. And so we would live for when he would be proud of us. And that was very few and far between, and we would be replaced constantly. So yeah, that's what abusers do, is that they replace their own children with, now you're the golden child, 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 that kind of thing. It's crazy. The other thing that abusers do with kids too, is that they insist that their partner give up their own children and replace their own children with the abuser's children. That is very common in narcissistic relationships and abusive relationships, and very harmful. And that's why when we get out of an abusive relationship and we have kids that were witness to this kind of abuse, it's hugely important to get into therapy. Hugely important to get into therapy to repair all of those relationships that have been harmed by proxy from the abuser through the target to the kids. So Hugely important. Okay, where am I? So yes, do they treat sons and daughters differently? Yeah, they can. Absolutely. Depending on what the abuser's issue was with their family of origin, if they had a problem with their dad, if they had a problem with their mom and it never got resolved, they will treat that same sex child differently. And they'll project onto that kid whatever the issue is with the mom or the dad. Unless, of course, they're not an abuser and then you've worked on the issues, but if they're an abuser, they're an abuser, and they're going to treat them differently. Healthy parents don't necessarily do that. They don't, because they know what their issues are and they work on them. So, okay. Yes, successful people tend to get cut down out of other people's insecurities. Abso-freaking-lutely. Consider the source. You always want to consider what the source of criticism is. If it's somebody you can respect and trust, okay, you might want to listen to it. But if it's somebody who's just bagging on you because you're successful, not so much. Don't listen to them. There's always going to be people that want to pull you down. Always. You got to consider the source. It's like, is this somebody worthy of listening to or not? So, if it's somebody you respect, maybe. If it's not, then don't. So, okay. Yeah, the fleas is a really hard concept to get because we do pick up fleas. We pick up fleas from our parents. We pick up fleas from our romantic partner. We pick up fleas from friends. We pick up fleas from, that kind of thing. And if they're, obviously, the fleas are unhealthy things, not healthy things, but unhealthy things. So like, screaming, yelling, pointing fingers, those are fleas. Those are learned behaviors. Lying, that's a learned behavior. Manipulating, that's a learned behavior. So as soon as you recognize that you're doing any of those things that was happening to you in the relationship, you're acting out your abuse, it's a flea, squish it, get rid of it. Okay. Raised by a narc and unfortunately married and divorced a narc. Gray rock with their dad. It's so hard to co-parent with these monsters. No, you're not co-parenting, you're going to parallel parent. It is never, ever going to be a co-parenting situation because the narcissist is all about the win and they don't care who or what they have to kill in order to win. Like, seriously. So when you have children with a narcissist or a borderline, and I'm talking malignant, guys, I'm talking malignant. It drives me crazy when somebody's like, oh, you're being mean to borderlines, you're being mean to narcissists. No, I'm being mean to the malignant end. Absolutely. I don't put up with abuse. I don't give a fuck who you are. I am being mean to the malignant end because it's truth and I'm going to expose it. So there it is. I'm not talking traits of, I'm not talking the quiet ones. I'm not talking the hermits or the waifs. I'm talking about the malignant end of the spectrum where they are actively and intentionally harming somebody for their own gain. So when we have children with a malignant narcissist or a malignant borderline, they absolutely do not give two flying rats' asses about the well-being of the children. They absolutely do not. And they will use those kids as pawns. They will use parental alienation. I think I've talked about that before. And they will undo whatever parenting you're doing. So basically it's not co-parenting, it's parallel parenting. So in other words, your kids will come back from a weekend or 5-day, because I think in Arizona it's 5-2-2-5 is the split, is the 50-50 split. So the kids will come back from the 5 days with the narcissist, and you'll spend the first 24 to 48 hours undoing all of the bullshit that got shoved into their heads with the narcissist, and then the rest of your time will be great with the kids because now they're back to normal. So it is not co-parenting, it is parallel parenting. So, and be prepared. You are going to have to undo the damage that the narcissist does to the child when they are with them for the 2 days, the 5 days, whatever. And it will take 24 to 48 hours to get the kids back through that and back to normal. So, and this is why kids act out when they get back from the narcissist parent, because they've just been with an abusive, nasty, crazy, self-centered, selfish POS. So yeah, it's going to take the kids a couple of days to get back to normal. Okay. Our son is the golden child and gets put a lot of pressure on him to be like him. This is the thing, is that narcissists never have children to honestly have the child. They have a child to prove that they're virile, or they have the child to prove that they can, create somebody just like them because they're, narcissists. So they do put perfect picture pressures, say that 5 times fast, on the golden child. They absolutely do. You must be perfect. You must. Mental masturbation. You must be perfect. You must be this. You must be that. You must behave exactly like I behave. Do as I do. Do as I say. be a little mini me. So what they don't understand and what they don't like is that the child has his or her own personality. They have his or her own interests, his or her own strengths, and it'll probably be different from the narcissists. And this goes for male narcissists, this goes for female narcissists. They will do this. They'll want their children to be little mini me's. And this also goes for malignant borderlines. And the second the child has their own opinion, their own personality, they're doing, liking things differently, it's too threatening to them, and the narcissist or the borderline will absolutely come unglued. No, 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 no. You must think exactly the way I think. You must like exactly what I like. You must be exactly me. Because anything different than that is too threatening to their very fragile ego. So in a normal mom or normal dad, you relish the differences. You love it when they find their thing. So let's say that, in a normal mom or a normal dad, intellectual, blah, 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 like to read, blah, 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 but they have a kid that's great at mechanical stuff or sports. A normal mom and dad will encourage that. They'll be like, fantastic, you found what you're great at. Fantastic. Let's get you into a school that supports that. Let's get you into programs that supports that, right? What a borderline parent will do is, you can't be mechanical. You can't be sports. You have to be like me. You have to read. You have to do this. You have to do. And then they set the kid up for failure because the kid is not that. Does that make sense? So it's a thing of nobody can be different from them. Nobody can have a differing opinion because it's too threatening to their ego. It's too threatening to their very fragile sense of self. So yeah, that's why they do perfect pictures on their kids and demand perfection, because they are getting narcissistic supply from that child. So let's say the child does well in school, right? Gets straight A's, gets awards, gets whatever. The parent will sit there and puff their chest out, the narcissistic ones will puff their chest out and go, I did that. I made them that way. It was all me. What? I'm sorry. You had a part in it for sure. But the kid's the one who did the work. Give him the credit or give her the credit. You see where I'm going with that? So that's why they put those perfect pictures onto those kids, is because they want to suck up that narcissistic supply. The child is nothing more than narcissistic supply to them. So if the child is doing well in school, they get to puff their chest up and be me, 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 me. If the child is not doing well in school, well, guess what? Now they have their sense of shame come flying to the forefront because it's all them. It's all about me. I'm the one. They're reflecting poorly on me. Oh my God, and they'll start freaking out because they can't handle it because it's all about them. Motherfuckers. I really fucking don't like these people. Can you tell that? Yeah. And so then that puts all of this pressure on the kid, and the kid is just like now responsible for mom or dad's well-being, sense of self, which is so not fucking fair. So yeah, so you want to get the kid into a therapist. Get them into a therapist well-versed in personality disorders, high conflict divorce, that understands dealing with a narcissist, with a borderline, with, these malignant end of the spectrum, okay? The kid needs to have self-esteem. He needs to understand that if he fails, it's okay. Let me just say that again. If he fails, it's okay. If you fail, it's okay. If failing is going to happen, it is going to happen, and it is okay. As long as you learn from it, pick yourself back up, dust your butt off, and keep going. Do you see where I'm going with that? With narcissists, there is no picking yourself back up. What they do is if you fail, they go, bam, you failed. Bam, you're bad. Bam, you're stupid. Bam, you're this. Bam, you're that. And they try to keep that kid down because how dare they embarrass them? Do you see where I'm going with that? So you want to teach your kid that failure happens. Fall down 8 times, get up 9. That's life. That's why I love martial arts. So yeah, you want to teach them that, failure is going to happen and you're going to make mistakes. Shit's going to go sideways. You're damn straight it is. And what you do afterwards really shows you who you are. It's not about making yourself wrong. It's not about making somebody else wrong. It's like, okay, shit went sideways. Now what? How do we make this better? How do we move forward? That's really what it's about. It's not about bam, 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 bam. But that's what the narcissist does because they have this huge amount of shame and they're projecting it all over everybody. And how dare this child not make them look the fabulous person that they know they are. Make sense? So yeah, your kiddo is going to have to get with a good therapist and is going to have really good boundaries and really have a strong sense of themselves. They need to understand that it's okay to not be perfect. They need to understand that it's okay to make mistakes. You're going to fall down. It's going to be okay. Pick yourself back up, dust your butt off, keep going. Keep going. And it doesn't matter what other people think. So yeah, you want to get with a good therapist on that one. And oftentimes what narcissists will do is they'll try to make it in the divorce decree that, you can't send your kid to a therapist. Well, yeah, because they don't want to be exposed for the fucking asshole that they are. So in any divorce decree, you make sure you put in there that you have final say on medical, on any sort of medical, and that you definitely want therapy for the kids. So, and you get to choose. So there is that. So yeah, he needs a sense of self. He needs a good therapist. He needs an advocate on his side that can help him deal with his dad's insanity. Now, you do not want to badmouth the dad or whoever the parent is. You don't want to badmouth that other parent, but you do need to let the kid know, honey, you don't need to be perfect. This parent is not correct in this assumption. You don't need to be perfect. You don't want to badmouth the parent. That'll always bite you in the butt. Don't do that. The kid will figure it out on their own. Kids are not stupid. They're not. They know when a parent is being a jerk or not. So let the kid figure it out on their own, okay? But do get a therapist to help them get a strong sense of self, work on the self-esteem, work on the boundaries, and understand, what game dad's playing. And let him and the therapist or the daughter and the therapist figure it out. So okay, hope that answered that question. My ex used to tell me that I would never be able to be more successful than him and wanted me to stay home and wait on him. Of course you did. Wow, that is so common. That is so common, Lori. I can't even begin to tell you. So what I've seen them do is isolate the person, give them this song and dance, and it's actually, I have a story in the book about that. Again, shameless plug. I have a story in this book. Hello. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him cha-cha. About a situation where the spouse insisted that the woman stay home and have babies and said, oh, no, you don't need to work. I will work and you be the mom. But then as soon as the child came, all of this punishment happened. You're not paying enough attention to me. You're not making enough money. You're just spending money. What's wrong with you? You're spending money, and not taking into account that there is a new child, and then putting her on a allowance so that she never had any money to save, like to get a divorce attorney. And, doing that type of thing. And this went on for years. And so finally, when she ended up getting divorced, she was able to get, spousal support because she'd never worked, because he made it so she couldn't. So thank God she left. Anyway, the point being is that, yeah, that's a common thing that they do is tell the spouse, no, stay home. I don't want you to work. But then they punish you for it later. So yeah, that's very, very common. Okay. Okay. Okay, so somebody had a question on why do borderlines get lumped in together with narcissists? Because they're both cluster Bs. So if you go to the DSM-5, it's the Bible basically for diagnosis. And so there's 3 different types of personality disorders. There's cluster A, cluster B, and cluster C. I don't have my DSM-5 in front of me, but the borderline and narcissism is in the cluster B. That's why they get lumped together a lot of the times, and a lot of the behavior actually overlaps. So that's why that is. So everybody's different, sweetie. And I'm talking, remember, again, I am talking about the malignant end of the spectrum. I am not talking about those that have traits of. I am talking about the malignant end that intentionally and purposefully go about harming children, harming their spouse, harming their friends, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have traits of, it can be worked on with the borderline, absolutely. If you are narcissistic, however, and you have hit the malignant end of the spectrum, there is not any hope for that because they don't want the help. They are unwilling to look at themselves. Their ego is so fragile, they're unwilling to do anything about it. Okay. Yeah, you're not a narcissist. You're not a narcissist. So there's a difference, sweetie. There's a difference. So there's a difference between traits of and there's a difference between malignancy. So in both borderline and narcissism, there is traits of, like, in narcissism, there's like, full of themselves, kind of the big man on campus kind of thing, all the way down to, now we've slid into malignancy, gaslighting, lying, harming, manipulating, intermittent positive rewards, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's the malignant end of the spectrum. Same thing with the borderline. So on the borderline end, there's traits of. There's just traits of, just like fleas. Traits of, a few of the behaviors, but then when it slides down to the part where the harm is happening to other people, there's lying going on, there's raging going on, there's cutting in front of somebody going on to manipulate or control, that's malignant. So that's what the difference is. So yeah, you've got a good point. And again, it's education. And this is why I think it's important that we need to talk about what are the differences? What are the differences in borderline? What are the differences between narcissism? Why do we have A, B, and C? Why do we separate them out? We don't talk enough about that. So good point, Brenda. Thank you for bringing that up. Let's see. He does come unglued, abusive to teachers, screams at my son about math. Yeah, Ugh. Get with a good therapist. Help your kiddo out. Get with a good therapist. Okay. Yeah, Brenda, that was a good comment. Thank you. That was really good. Okay, Holly, I'm glad I could help. Thank you very much for that. My adoptive narc mom was that way. If I did something well, she took credit for it. Yeah. If I felt I was rejecting her by doing something different, yeah. So they will force their kids into things that they don't want to do. They do. My dad did that with me. So I was initially interested in going to college to do theater arts because I really enjoyed Shakespeare. Shakespeare was my thing. I loved Shakespeare. I loved the Shakespeare plays. Taming of the Shrew is my favorite Shakespeare play. I'm pretty sure Mark Singer had a lot to do with that. But anyway, but what he did is he sabotaged it. And he was like, you'll never make it as an actress. You'll never make it as a theater person. You'll never make it. You'll never make it. You'll never make it, because he never made it. He wanted to do opera, and he didn't. He instead, his dad forced him to go back after World War II and become a lawyer. He didn't want to be a lawyer. He wanted to be an opera singer. So he didn't get to do his dream. So guess what he did? He made sure that I couldn't do mine. So he forced me to become a hairdresser. So I went to cosmetology school for a year, and then put me down and made me wrong and said I was stupid for not finishing college in 4 years. Well, I couldn't, because I took a year off to go do cosmetology school, which is what he wanted me to do. So yeah, this is what narcissistic parents, abusive parents will do. They will set up these unrealistic expectations, force you to do things you don't want to do. Like his dad forced him to become a lawyer because his dad was a lawyer, and his dad was a lawyer, and his dad's dad was a lawyer. So yeah, not everybody is fit to do whatever the dad did or whatever the mom did. Everybody's an individual. Everybody's different. Let them do their strength. Okay. Which, in hindsight, I'm kind of glad I didn't go through with the whole acting thing, because it's a crazy profession. But I think it's also helped me that I took those classes, because now I can do things like this and I don't have a fear of speaking in front of people or speaking, in public. So in a weird way, it all worked out. So in a weird way, thanks, Dad, I guess. Okay, yeah. So yeah, they don't like us doing things different. They don't accept us if we don't do exactly what they want. Okay. Okay, didn't let me have friends or do anything that would make me independent. Yeah, they want to make us dependent. Oh my gosh, they want to make us dependent like nobody's business. So what they will do is they will take over children's bank accounts and, not teach them how to balance a checkbook, or they will make them dependent on the parent for everything, like laundry or whatever, or, hobbling them. They hobble them. They prevent them from going to school. They prevent them, or what's worse is they'll treat one child completely different. They'll send that child to a great school, and then they'll totally ignore the other one. It's really crazy. And that happened in my family as well. Both of my sisters got to go to Ivy League schools. I, on the other hand, applied to all of these places. I apparently got accepted. I did not know it at the time. And I ended up going to Chico State. Okay, it was the party capital of the world at the time I was going. I'm not a partier. But, Mom wanted to keep me close at home. And so she, years later, sent me all the acceptance letters from all of the colleges that I applied to, and I got accepted. Oh, that was a conversation. But yeah, that's what parents will do. They are selfish. These narcissists, and remember, malignant end, Narcissists and borderlines do things selfishly for their own gain, for their own comfort, for their own well-being. They don't care about the child. So there is that. Yeah, they will do things like that. They don't want us to be independent. They want us to stick around and take care of them. My mother used to say things like, well, do you remember the movie Like Water for Chocolate? Like Water for Chocolate? Was that the one of it? Like Water? Yeah, Like Water for Chocolate. It was a Spanish movie, Mexican movie. And it was about this youngest daughter. And so in the family tradition was the youngest daughter was supposed to take care of the mother. All the other girls could go off and marry and have families, but the youngest one's role was to grow up and take care of the mother, just like it happened in the family before and in the generation before and the generation before. And so the youngest one falls in love, obviously, and she breaks it. She decides not to, and it's terribly tragic ending. It's a really sad movie, but it's a great movie and I loved it. That's kind of what my mom did to me, is that she kept saying, no, 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 I don't want you to get married. I don't want you to have a boyfriend. I don't want you to go to school. I don't want you to do this. You're going to stay with me and we're going to travel the world and we're going to do all this together and blah, 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 blah. Well, fortunately, I got out of that. I left home when I was 17 and I said, fuck this shit. And I broke off from my mom and I got involved with my husband, John, and we've traveled the world together. And yeah, and she was pissed. She was pissed that I did that. She was very angry that I became independent and that I could balance my own checkbook and take care of myself. And because I went against all of the bullshit that they had shoved into my head. You're the cute one, not the smart one. You're this, you're not that. You're, you can't do this. You can't do that. You, all of this stuff. And, yeah, you've just gotta break away from all of those messages, those self-sabotaging messages. And yeah, they want us to stay dependent and with them so that we can care for them, because they don't think they can care for themselves, and they want an audience, and that's not our job. It's not our job. Sorry, I resign. Not my job. I'm gonna go do me. You go do you. I'm gonna go do me. Bye-bye. So yeah. Okay. What about his enabling family of flying monkeys? The whole bunch of them feed off of each other. Very sickening to watch them supply for each other. Try to stay out of it as much as you can. Seriously, just try to stay out of it. Try to keep the kids away from it as much as you can. Super important to do. Okay. Good Lord, it's 2 o'clock. Jesus God, I'm just talking here. Okay. Yes, Brenda, get them to explain the clusters better. Get them to explain what the different clusters are. So, and they break them up into different things. And why do they lump them together? Because borderline and narcissism do have some overlapping things. But again, if it's traits of, it can be dealt with. If it's down to the malignant end, not so much. So Brenda, great. Go talk to your therapist, ask for a better definition. Yeah, they hobble us. They absolutely hobble us. They try to keep us in debt. So I can't tell you the number of times I've seen narcissists keep their victim, their target, in debt so that they can't leave or don't feel comfortable leaving, or they get them pregnant so that they can't leave, or conversely, they get pregnant so the person feels obligated to stay in the relationship, and that's horrible as well. So yeah, that's what they do. Okay, I have been talking for 2 hours and 11 minutes. I think I'm going to shut up now. So sorry about that, guys. I just got really wrapped up in all of this. So anyway, I hope that answered all of your guys' question. Next week, ooh, you're going to love next week's. Next week, we are going to talk about how to deal with the holidays, because we're coming up on Thanksgiving. We're coming up on Christmas, on New Year's. So I want to talk about why it is that abusers always fuck up the holidays. Bastards. They ruin them. They ruin them. Why do they ruin them, and how you can protect yourself from that? So we're going to talk about the holidays, what to do with difficult people during the holidays, options that you've got, all that sort of good stuff. So we're going to talk about the holidays. Get your questions ready for next week. All right, I am going to sign off because I'm just talking a lot. Oh my God. Although this is good. I'm glad I went 2 hours and my voice is still good. So that makes me happy. Oh, speaking of which, I'm going to be starting the audiobook in a couple of weeks. So I'll get the What's Wrong, or not What's Wrong. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him cha-cha on audio here pretty soon. I've got a very talented voice actor that's going to be doing it with me because I've got some male roles in there. So that'll be cool. So that's that. So thanks, you guys. Get your question. Great questions, guys. Great questions. Always great questions. If you have questions that you want to ask and you want me to put them on the air, just go to my We Need to Talk with Chris Godinez on Facebook. You can go the AHA Counseling Facebook page that we have. Please leave my Facebook page that's on the internet to my business, because I'm getting a lot of emails. I'm booked, guys. I'm booked. So just go to my Facebook page. That would be easier. So go to the We Need to Talk or the AHA Counseling Facebook page or the Chris Godinez LPC public speaker page. And you can always leave questions anonymously, or not anonymously, but privately on the IMing thing. Waka waka. Anyway, so that's it. All right, guys, have a great week, and I will talk to you later. Bye.